to let well enough alone.
You think there's something in there, don't you?
Truth, you're all alone.
The police were here, Daddy.
It's absurd. They indicate his blood is reproducing itself at triple the normal rate.
His body can regenerate dead cells. So this Nikos Thanopoulos is immortal?
You mustn't go on this way, Katya. One day soon, you're going to get up out of bed, and you'll be fine. And all of this will be an unpleasant memory.
A real monster came today.
Stop that, Willie. We had an accident. A thief tried to climb over the gate and was wounded horribly on the points.
Even the police were here, Daddy.
Completely absurd.
There exists a reality that we do not see. It turns out you're a priest. I serve God with biochemistry.
We know he kills, only do you know why?
He is creature of evil.
Quit that sniffling or the boogeyman will be getting you.
Mommy says there is no boogeyman.
Oh, no? And who do you think that was we saw before?
It was about Thelma Gardelli up at the hospital. I'm afraid she was brutally murdered by that man we were operating on this morning.
Oh, my God.
We have to find some way of stopping him.
It is his brain. That is his weak point.
This is Don Franks from My Bloody Valentine, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, episode 51, I believe. We had the big 5-0 last time, and we are now getting into, well, serious numbers, I kind of guess. This week we are going to be covering the Video Nasty, the Italian Video Nasty Absurd, which is Erik's pick. So, without further ado, I shall introduce you to our absurdists. So, Erik, how are you doing over in Ireland?
I'm doing good. My brain is also my weak point, apparently.
Is it?
Yes.
So I've heard.
As we discovered on the Hysteria Continues quiz for Christmas, but not on last week's quiz.
Yeah, and why would that be? How is your stomach? Are you back to normal?
I'm back to normal, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So winning, you need a winning streak.
Yes, yeah. And I think I've lost weight as well, thanks to winning. It's been all positives, yeah.
Wow, okay. Right, so you didn't celebrate with a binge of chunky Kit Kats or anything like that?
I don't need any excuse for a binge of chunky Kit Kats, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
I already had an arrow for my dessert this afternoon even. Yeah.
Is that one of your 5 a day?
Yep. One of my 500 a day.
Mm. Okay. Right. Well, Nathan, how are you doing?
Good. You?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. And sober, more or less. So,
shocker.
What do you mean shocker? What? That I'm sober?
You've been away for 2 days and we just assumed it was on a sort of partying for 48 hours.
No, I was just down visiting the in-laws, watching celebrity diving.
Splash! Wow.
Yes. What an idea for a programme that is. I was a bit disappointed that Joe Brand wasn't diving, just judging. But anyway, our American listeners and Joseph and Nathan won't know who that is. But just watching lots of very shite telly and eating lots. So it's quite nice. So, Joseph, how are you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Oh, Arnie's back.
Yes, and he's absurd.
Absurd, indeed. Yes. Well, we are going to get on to absurd, and also we have yet another quiz. Now, this time, Erik, bored of both winning and losing quiz, is going to come up. He's going to be the ringmaster today, and he's going to come up with a special Euro quiz, haven't you, Erik?
Yes.
Which I think is going to be quite exciting.
Very exciting.
Hopefully,
very exciting.
Very exciting. So, also recently seen. We're actually recording a week in advance this week because of sort of various scheduling conflicts and everything. And we're going to start getting into the holiday season, aren't we? Soon, Erik. Are you going away anywhere nice?
Not until June, I don't think, which is still a bit away.
Okay. Well, I'm off in February anyway, so I forgot to mention that. So I'll have to talk about it a bit later.
Well, I'm off for a bit in February, just for one weekend, because it's my birthday.
Oh.
Hint, hint. Some nice T-shirts online I saw, Justin, that I'd like.
I don't think I can stretch to that, Erik. But you never know. You never know. Maybe there'll be a kind-hearted listener out there who will buy you that torso T-shirt you wanted.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Recently seen. So it's only been a week. But have you been watching anything of note, Nathan? How about you?
I watched a few, actually.
Okay. Excellent.
First, I watched a newer movie called A Lure, and I was not that impressed with it. I don't know. I just don't really get a lot of these direct to DVD movies or direct to Blu-ray, whatever. I don't really get them that much. I mean, I guess I don't have the patience. I mean, I see the low budget quality, and it's just not the same as low budget movies of the 80s. So, I mean, it's not really a bad movie. It's just kind of meh. So, take that for what you will.
And what is that? Was that a slasher movie or?
Well, I actually thought I was going to be watching a slasher movie, and no, it's not really. Actually, I will say this. The first 30 minutes or so is nothing but, like, catty high school girls, like, insulting each other, which was kind of fun. But then once the, girls are in danger and they're kidnapped and all that, it just came kind of ho-hum.
Is that the one that was recommended on the forums recently?
Yes, it was. And I'm sorry to the person that recommended it. I just kind of thought the beginning was entertaining, but the ending was, yeah.
Okay. Joseph, have you watched that?
No, I have not.
Okay, right. And Erik, I presume you haven't?
No,
I haven't.
But I do agree with Nathan's sentiment. There's just so much stuff out there, and a lot of it is meh.
Exactly. Yes. Well, thank you, Nathan. Is it? And you watched something else as well?
Yes, I actually watched a couple other things. I watched Gargoyles, the 1972 made-for-TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a few creepy scenes towards the beginning when you don't really see the gargoyles that well, but once you actually see them and they start talking, they become very much less threatening. And it was kind of funny. Like the last 20 minutes or so became more comical than anything else. And which was kind of sad because the beginning, especially when they were getting attacked in the barn or the little farmhouse, whatever, was actually a really, really tense scene. I like that part.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I always get it mixed up with the Steven Spielberg one. Was it the other? The one with I haven't seen either, but I always get them mixed up. I always keep on thinking Steven Spielberg directed Gargoyles, but obviously he didn't. So,
You think of Gremlins?
No. The other it's the Steven Spielberg directed that early 70s TV movie with a kid. I've never seen it, but it's got the image of the other, or the kind of baby or whatever in the jar, and the kid looking at it. And for some reason, I get it mixed up with Gargoyles. I don't know why. Don't blame me.
Wasn't Gremlins directed by Robert Zemeckis?
No, Joe Dante,
wasn't it?
Yeah, Joe Dante. I'm sorry.
So
they're all
getting
kind of
confused.
interchangeable.
Yes. So I've got bloody. Can you hear that? Can you hear that cat trying to get into the room?
Yes.
I'm not letting him in. Not
I
after
got a
last
new
time.
cat.
You got a new cat?
Yeah, another one.
Have you?
It's solid black. It's a kitten.
What's his name?
7 weeks old. Its name is Schrodinger.
Oh, because you were going to call him.
He's got the sniffles right now. He keeps sneezing.
Oh, bless him. Well, I'm not letting Argento in because we know what happened last time.
Oh no.
So, Nathan.
No, this cat is
sorry.
really good about going out through the dog door and getting in the litter pan. Unlike Philby, who just would rather go in the bathtub.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yes.
Well, we all have our quirks, don't we?
But at least the bathtub is easy to clean up, whereas, carpet is a little more of a nightmare.
Yeah, I know. Well, we just got back from the weekend away, and it was like someone had thrown a packet of Maltesers across the landing. So,
Ew.
Ooh, I know, ew, exactly. But luckily, they were like Maltesers, so you could pick them up.
Ew.
Oh. What?
I mean, it is the lesser of two evils, but still.
Actually, Erik, now you're talking about your birthday. I've got an idea. Do you like chocolates?
You could
I don't want any
out of that.
I do not want any of Argento's Maltesers, thank you.
Okay, all right. But if you do, just let me know. I can even put them in a packet and send them over to you.
No, I'm okay, thank you.
No, okay. Right. Well, back to Nathan. Nathan, and anything else you want to talk about?
The last one is one of your favorites, Justin, Tag the Assassination Game.
Okay, yes.
You gave it a pretty scathing review on Hysteria Lives.
Yes, i.e. Tag watching paint dry.
I was not very impressed, and it's a shame because for some reason I remember liking it when I was a kid, but now rewatching it, there's a lot of focus played on the love story angle between Linda Hamilton and the guy from Revenge of the Nerds.
Robert Carradine.
Yes.
Robert Carradine.
I always call him Skolnick.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of lovey-dovey stuff between the two of them, and it's very hokey. Especially, I don't know, scenes where they're... And one of the more insulting scenes is when she quotes Casablanca to him. You know how to whistle, don't you? Like trying to be all seductive. I don't know. It's very false. It didn't seem true to me. And I think Justin really hit the mark on what he said when he was like, there's just something about a killer in a movie that just has a gun. It's not, I don't know, it's not as exciting, I guess. I mean, how many different ways can you kill somebody with a gun? So
with a gun, you have more of an advantage of getting shot, whereas a knife, you can kind of avoid that.
Yeah.
And there's no really, like, sense of tension, like, in the stalking scenes where he's, going to shoot somebody for real. I don't know. To me, I fell flat. It was kind of a flat film.
No, well, fair enough. I'm in no great rush to rewatch that, and it's a shame, isn't it? Because it's got a good cast, and the director was The Shape in Halloween. It's Nick Castle, wasn't it? It was who directed it. He played Michael Myers in Halloween. You would have thought he would have known better, but there you go. So, well, thank you, Nathan. Joseph, how about you?
Yes, I've seen quite a few this week. Actually, pretty much all of them are somewhat forgettable, save for maybe a few moments. But the first I saw was a newer movie called The Frozen. It's not Frozen as the Adam Green movie where they're on the ski lift. This is about two people who go into the woods on a snowmobile, and they crash the snowmobile, and then they get lost in the woods. And then the guy disappears, so the girl's like pretty much left to her own, devices out in the woods, and she starts having these like people following her around. And, it's got some really good acting and some really good scenery, but it's really boring. It's really forgettable, and it has one of those twist endings I won't spoil, but if you've seen pretty much any movie in the last 10 years, you'll know how it ends. It's kind of insulting. They even quoted some dialogue from one of the more famous examples of this twist ending, and I was like, wow, they just didn't really care, did they? So moving on from that, I also watched a movie called Occupant, which was okay. I mean, it's also forgettable, but it has some really good scenes. It's about a guy who inherits I think it's his grandmother's rent-controlled apartment, but he has to stay, kind of inside for like 12 days he has to stay inside like 12 days to avoid, people trying to throw him out, so his lawyer can set up the paperwork so he can actually keep it rent controlled. But he kind of just starts going insane and weird things starting. It kind of reminded... I'm sorry, what was that?
What?
I heard Erik. Did Erik say something?
No.
Erik.
Oh, I could have sworn I heard something. But anyway, it reminded me of kind of a low-rent Roman Polanski film, maybe like The Tenant or something. I mean, okay, had some good scenes, but another just kind of forgettable. Moving on to that, I saw... have you seen either of these two? Any of you?
No, I haven't.
No. Okay, well, moving on then. I saw The Dark Hours, which I know came out in like 2005 or something like that. And it was okay. I mean, it had some pretty good acting, and I like some of the character, development. But the problem is that the ending is really ambiguous. I mean, it's about this woman. She's like a clinical psychiatrist for like a prison or something, and she refuses to let this guy out because she thinks he still needs to go through more, psychotherapy. And it turns out, she has this inoperable brain tumor, and he has the same one. and she's basically kind of experimenting on him to see if she can cure her own tumor. But anyway, he ends up getting out of the prison and follows her to the country with her and her husband and her sister. And he basically ties them up and, forces them to make kind of deadly choices, or otherwise he'll kill them. And it's sort of like Saw in that way, but there's no torture. It's more of like dialogue driven. And, I like that, but until the ending where you're like, kind of left scratching your head like, okay, what just happened? So, overall not great, but, perfectly watchable for a one-time thing. Have you seen it?
No. You do seem to find quite the obscure movies.
Yeah, well, a lot of these have been recommended to me through The Body Count Continues. So I just basically kind of went through Netflix and saw some of them.
What was the title again?
The Dark Hours. It's really well acted. Yeah, it's really well acted, and until the last frame, it's actually fairly good. But I don't know, it just kind of. It's a little too ambiguous, and I don't mind ambiguity. I kind of like it, but here I was like, okay. So, moving on to that, I saw another one called Forget Me Not, which has a really neat premise about these teenagers who play this game in a graveyard called Ghost, where, it's you run around tagging someone, and then when you tag them, they're a ghost, and the last person who's not tagged is the winner. So this, I guess this evil spirit or something starts, killing them off. And the premise is that every time someone's killed off, everyone else, forgets that person ever existed except for the final girl. And so they think she's going crazy because she remembers all these people who are dying, but no one else remembers them. And it's really neat. I had some really good gore scenes, some really effective imagery. But the problem, like a lot of these movies, is the cast is very obnoxious. And this is another movie that goes on for way longer than it should. So I kind of just scratched that one from my memory as well because, I hate it when a movie has a really good premise, but it's just permeated with characters you don't care about. So have you seen that one?
No, but it sounds like it's, premise that certainly sounded promising.
Yeah, you might like it if you can just kind of get past the characters. They're not unlikable. It's just they're not the type of people I would hang out with. They're more of a, let's hit a bong or drink as much as possible, which, might be good for Justin, but
sounds good.
Those frat party types.
And having a party in a graveyard playing a game of chess. It sounds right.
I know, it sounds like my perfect Friday night.
This film. It's okay. That's all I can say about it. But none of you have seen that one, right?
No.
Okay, well. I've got two more, and that's it. I watched The New Daughter with Kevin Costner, and I had that recommended to me from someone on the forum. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Farmer Vincent, but I expected another one of those hide and seek or Fight Club type things where the premise is that Kevin Costner is like I guess he's a writer, and he moves out to the country with his son and his daughter starts acting weird. So I expected, her to have some kind of split personality, but that's not what it is at all. It's actually a monster movie, and I was really pleasantly surprised with it. It's actually fairly decent. The monsters themselves are really well done. There's some really startling imagery. It's a little too long, but I did like the monster design. I liked a lot of the suspense, and it has a really wicked, downbeat ending that I won't spoil, but I was like really surprised because it's more mainstream, and I was like, wow, I can't believe, they went there. It's kind of uncompromising. Have any of you seen that?
No. Did it come out at the cinema?
Yeah, it was. I think it was released, but I don't think it did very well. It might have been a dud at the box office, but I was pleasantly surprised with it. It's not great, but for a one-time watch, you could do a lot worse.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I think you're kind of you're seeing all these films that none of us has seen. So
I'm playing catch up because I didn't watch a lot during the Christmas holidays, so I'm kind of catching up. But I have one more. I finally saw Sinister, And it's been getting compared a lot to Insidious, but I thought Insidious was a million times better than Sinister. I thought Sinister had a good premise, but I didn't really care about Ethan Hawke's character. I thought he was kind of cold and distant, and I guess that's what his character is supposed to be, because he's kind of battling with this whole, I'm not writing these true crime stories for fame. I'm doing it to bring, light to these crimes. But, in reality, he's more like he wants the fame. And so I didn't really care for him. I liked a lot of the footage that he's watching on the films with that weird demon thing in the background, and then walking through the pool and stalking people. And I kind of like the premise, but I thought Insidious was much scarier, and I related more to the people in Insidious because they're a family trying to save someone, and you kind of relate to them. Whereas this guy's just out for fame, and he doesn't really act like he even gives two shakes about his family. I mean, I don't know. I was really disappointed with it. It's another one of those movies that got rave reviews, but I was let down.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to rewatching Sinister when it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD in the UK. Looking back on it, I think the stuff with the children at the end was a bit hackneyed, wasn't it? It was a bit kind of been there.
Yeah, it has one of those final shots in the film that's, I saw it coming. It's supposed to be a jump scare, but I knew it was coming, and I just kind of rolled my eyes at it. And so it's one of those movies. I mean, Insidious, it's a lot like Insidious, I guess, because it has that tone and feel. But Insidious, I mean, it did go a little over the top, but I was genuinely, kind of invested, and I kind of liked some of that kind of oddball imagery, whereas here I was like, that's it. So
a little over the top.
Yeah, well, Insidious was over the top, but I kind of liked it. But here it's just, I don't know, it's just so dull, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
whereas Insidious was more flamboyant. I don't know, it just kind of avant-garde. I kind of like that.
Insidious is there's a sequel, hasn't there, been greenlit, and it's got the same cast. But I kind of imagine it's going to be more...
had a sequel for Sinister coming out as well. That's what I heard.
Was there? Okay.
Maybe. That's what I'd heard. I don't know.
I just the thing I liked about Insidious was that it was the low budget meant that they actually stuck with kind of quite lo-fi scares, didn't they? Without... but I can imagine a sequel, if they have bigger budget, you're going to see a lot more kind of CGI and throwing a lot more special effects at it, which might sort of, actually have the opposite effect, perhaps.
Who knows?
Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Joseph. And Erik, I understand you've been watching some interesting things, haven't you?
I have. Well, first of all, I'll start with Barbarian Sound Studio, which I missed at the cinema because I was abroad when it opened here in September, and when I came back, it had disappeared.
You were abroad?
I was abroad once, yeah. Let's not talk about that. This is of course the sort of art house tribute to the Giallo movie, starring Toby Jones as this English sound engineer who travels to Rome to work on a film called The Equestrian Vortex. Little as you know, it's a horror film, and he's quite disturbed by, we, the viewer, do not get to see what's on screen. We only get to hear it, because the film itself is all about sound and sound effects and the creation of sound effects. So we don't see what he's seeing, but he's obviously quite disturbed by it. And Joseph mentioned earlier Roman Polanski's The Tenant, and that's the kind of film it is. Sort of midway through the film, it starts getting very vague and quite obscure. And I watched it, and it ends quite, not abruptly, but it ends on quite that's what you'd call a damp squib. It doesn't really have an ending, is what I'm trying to say, probably. And that was quite frustrating, but it's also one of the great things about the film is that I was left pondering over it for a long time afterwards, sort of what it all meant. And I don't know if there is an intention, if there is a meaning sort of built into the film. I think it's sort of one of those films where you have to just come to your own conclusions. It reminded me, 2001 is a film that I love. It's one of my favourite films of all time, but I have absolutely no idea what the last 15 minutes are about, but that's part of its appeal to me. And I think Barbarian Sound Studio will grow on me. I think it needs a second viewing, but I would recommend it. I mean, Mark Kermode, the famous, is he famous? UK film critic, named it his number one film of 2012. Which I didn't realise until after I'd watched it. One thing I will say for it is, Justin, you were watching the film last week and you said it had incredible detail, incredible attention to detail in creating a 1970s atmosphere, because this film is set in the 70s.
Okay.
And this does the exact same thing. I mean, you'd swear, like particularly the female characters, you can absolutely see them in something, in a giallo. It isn't gaudy, over the top kitsch 70s look. It's a very natural look, and I thought it was astonishing. I think the film, I was engaged in the film the whole way through. I'm not sure, it probably will divide people because it is kind of art house and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Ethereal, maybe. Have you seen it, Justin?
No, but my curiosity has been piqued.
Yeah.
So I will. I'm sure I'll hunt it down sooner rather than later.
I think it's what you'd call a mood piece, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. On the flip side of that, I saw Dark Shadows, the Tim Burton reboot of the Dark. And I have to say, I said last week on the podcast, I haven't seen anything to do with Dark Shadows. I've never seen an episode of the TV series or any of the spin-off movies. So this is my first introduction to it, and I actually really enjoyed it. Johnny Depp plays a vampire called Barnabas Collins, who is resurrected after a 200-year slumber, and he awakens in 1972. And the trailer played it up as being kind of a comedic film. He's a fish out of water. He's this 18th century man who has to suddenly deal with 20th century technology. That there is that element to the film, but that's not the dominant theme to it. The story is he returns to his ancestral home, which is in decline. It's this huge big mansion, and the business associated with it is in decline, and he tries to revitalize it. But whilst he does that, he comes face to face with his centuries-old nemesis. I thought it was good fun. It's a good popcorn film. From my understanding, I don't think Dark Shadows aficionados are too enthused about it. But I would recommend it. I thought it was on a par with some of Burton's other films, like Sleepy Hollow. I thought it was as good as that, or Sweeney Todd. I don't know have any of you seen it?
I've not seen it.
No, not yet.
I think it's a fun popcorn movie. It's not one to hunt down vigorously, but if it popped on the telly, if you got it on Love Film, Justin, I'd recommend you watch it.
No, I'll put it on the queue, definitely.
Okay, the next one I saw was Grabbers, which is an Irish monster movie. Set off an island on the west coast of Ireland, where we see at the start some kind of meteorite or spaceship or something crashes into the sea containing these monster critter things. Now, the film I'd probably compare it to most would be Tremors, although it's absolutely nowhere as good, but tonally it's the same. It's a horror monster movie comedy, which is really rare for an Irish movie. And that novelty value alone, I thought, made it quite watchable. But, in essence, it is a pretty unremarkable film, but it was remarkable. But it was remarkable to me because here we have an Irish film that's actually trying to be mainstream and, it has no pretenses. It's not trying to be an Irish, although it does portray Irish people as just saying feck and gobshite and drinking a lot. Because the theme of the movie, and this isn't really a spoiler because I think this is given away in the trailer, is that they realise the monsters are allergic to alcohol. So the islanders, to protect themselves, all decide to get drunk in the local pub. So basically you have half the movie of drunken Irish people saying feck and gobshite and all this type of thing, which is quite fun. They're reinforcing stereotypes, but in a fun way, I think. Has anyone seen it?
Yes, I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked all of the characters. I thought the special effects were really well done. It reminded me a lot of, like you said, Tremors. It's not as good as Tremors, but it's got that tone, and it's just one of those movies. It's fun. That's all it is. It's fun and it's harmless.
Yeah, it's exactly. But it does end on a shot that's entirely predictable. Yeah. And finally, I caught up with the highly recommended from last week.
Sorry, I'm not meaning to come over you, Erik, but I thought, is this what you're talking about?
Must be weird not having anybody come on you.
Yeah,
Robert Davi.
That's the one, which also features one of my favorite lines. I enjoy having great tits. Yeah, I saw Showgirls, and I don't know why it's taken me 17 years to see the film, but I absolutely loved it. Justin, you were wrong about a lot of things in life, but you were 100% right about Showgirls.
I thought you'd love it.
Sorry?
I thought you would love it.
I did. I mean, it's 2 hours and 5 minutes. So late on Friday night, I put it on and said, okay, I'll watch the first half hour and then I'll go to bed and watch the rest tomorrow. But I was so engrossed, I watched the whole thing. It's so trashy. It's a soap opera. It's a softcore porn movie. It's a dance movie, which of course I love, Dirty Dancing, Footloose, Flashdance, all that type of stuff. All rolled into one, and the icing on the cake, or the cherry on top of the ice on the cake, was it has a scene where there's a cat fight that involves somebody being pushed down a flight of stairs, which is always a plus in a movie for me. I mean, I can't believe who was the director again? Paul Verhoeven, was it?
That's right, yeah.
I can't believe some of the things he got those sort of mainstream actresses to do. Particularly, I've really felt sorry for Elizabeth Berkley. I mean, some of the stuff she has to say and perform. I mean, how did she think this was going to be a springboard to a mainstream career? I don't know.
Well, she kind of gives it her all, doesn't she? She really
does. In fairness, she does. I mean, some of her lap dance sequences are absolutely hilarious. And
also the pool sex scene is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan's Fringe. I mean, is he a member of Spandau Ballet or what?
What did you think of her temper problems, especially when girl gives her a meal and she just flips out from her asking her a couple of questions?
I know, she's a total Inga. Absolutely. Yeah.
I like how this whole story of Showgirls is basically she needs to go to Vegas or wherever it is to become this, stage dancer, and they take it so seriously, like it's life or death. Like, this is what you're meant to do. This is your destiny. You're going to change the world or whatever. And they take it so seriously, and it's just so absurd.
And did anyone notice that the way that Black Swan completely ripped off Showgirls?
Yes.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about it that way, but
no, just the sort of rivalry between the sort of this main dancer and her understudy in version commas. Yeah, I thought it was just absolutely great fun, and I'm desperate to watch it again. I just loved it.
Right, I'm very, very pleased, Erik.
Yeah, because when it came out with all those bad reviews, the conclusion I jumped to was that it was going to be boring. This was back in 1996 when it came out over here, so that's why I never watched it. But I've learned since then, bad reviews don't necessarily mean it's boring. It just means that mainstream critics just don't like trashiness of any kind. Doesn't mean it's boring, though.
I saw Showgirls at the theater because it was kind of this whole event movie, because Elizabeth Berkley was supposedly supposed to get all kinds of raunchy nude and do all kinds of crazy sexual things. And I was like, ooh, this might be kind of interesting to see the girl from Saved by the Bell do all this stuff. And then when you go see the movie, you're like, okay.
You must have loved it in particular, though, Joseph.
For all the wrong reasons.
I bet.
It is a hoot, though. I mean, I highly recommend it.
Yes, excellent. Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed it, Erik, because I knew you would love it. So, is there anything else you've been watching?
That's it. Yeah.
Well, just to round things up, I haven't really been watching a huge amount, actually. Well, not horror stuff anyway. The closest I probably got was... I think you sent me a disc of this years ago, Erik, and I never got around to watching it. And it was Emergency Squad, which is the Italian Polizia. And if you don't know what Polizia is, it's and this segues nicely into our Euro quiz, but the Polizia were basically the popular genre that took over from the Giallo in the kind of the mid-ish 1970s, and it's kind of violent police dramas with kind of like, if you think of like Dirty Harry but set in Rome, you're kind of along the right lines. And this was Emergency Squad. It's got loads of different Italian titles, and again it's like that, a violent kind of cop thriller with Thomas Milan, who plays the kind of renegade cop whose wife was shot dead with her baby outside a supermarket back in the late 1960s, and he's hunting down the gang that killed his wife. And it's just lots of very kind of, not sleazy, but there's quite a few sleazy bits in it. There's a bit where a schoolgirl has her blouse ripped off not once but twice. And lots of bizarrely in a Giallo, there's loads of overweight women, frumpy women in it, which is surprising, although it's not a Giallo, but yeah, it's very much tongue-in-cheek, and I very much enjoyed it, and I regret having not watched it since you sent it to me, Erik, so I caught up with that. But that is probably I think it's the lone kind of film I've seen this week. So that's me done, really.
Okay.
But that segues us on rather nicely to our quiz, doesn't it?
Yes, it does
so,
indeed.
Erik, are you going to come on after this?
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Euro Quiz.
Rome, Lisbon, Madrid, Copenhagen, Paris, Bognor Regis, Ontario.
Our first contestant this evening is 18-year-old Nathan from Chattanooga in Tennessee. Nathan is the award-winning director of films such as The Hairdresser Massacre, which was recently nominated for 3 Oscars. Our second contestant is 25-year-old Joseph, also from Chattanooga in Tennessee. For Joseph, when it comes to boobies, it's the bigger the better. And finally, our third contestant is 64-year-old Justin from Bristol in the United Kingdom. Justin says if he wins the quiz, he's going to invest in a new Zimmer frame. So let's play the Euro Quiz.
Oh, Erik.
Oh dear! And there was my stereo effect of the naming the European cities at the start didn't come through on my headphones, unfortunately.
Oh, did
I have to say, I thank you for saying I'm 25. That was probably one of the better years physically for me. So thank you for taking me back in time.
Okay, well, this is the Euro Quiz. We're going to be taking you back in time. Well, no, some of them are modern. Don't panic. I'll start with Nathan, and again, Nathan, I'm going for the ABC. You choose the question. So will it be A, B, or C?
B.
B. Okay. The Giallo film Iguana with the Tongue of Fire is set in which European city?
I've never seen that movie, so I'm going to guess Rome.
Oh, incorrect. Joseph, do you know?
Iguana with the Tongue of Fire is set in Dublin?
It is set in Dublin.
Yes.
That's 1 point for Joseph. Did anyone hear any typing there?
No, but you can't hear typing on an iPad. It's like space. You can't hear someone scream.
I don't have an iPad.
Yeah, but we can't see you to justify that, yeah.
Right, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Joseph.
Okay, Joseph, you have to choose between A or C now.
Let's go with C.
Okay, Murder Rock, Dancing Death, the Lucio Fulci film, is set in which city?
Now, that I don't know, but I'm going to take a guess and said it's in New York.
It is set in New York. Well done. Joseph is steaming ahead. Yes. So don't forget my guesses.
Right.
I'm aware that New York is not in Europe, but the film itself is a European film.
Okay.
So the rules are tenuous. Justin, you're left with A. The last horror film is set in which European city?
Cannes.
It is indeed. That's a point for Justin. Okay, at the end of that round, we've got Joseph on 2, Justin on 1. Nathan, you're on 0.
I will stay on 0 till the end, I'm afraid.
I don't think you will. Okay, Joseph, you're first on this one. This round is called Who's That Girl? It's basically a fancy name for Name the Actress. Okay, do you want A, B, or C?
I will go with B this time.
Okay. Spanish actress Nieve Navarro, star of All the Colors of the Dark, Death Walks on High Heels, amongst others, has an anglicized alias. Can you tell me what it is? She's more famous under a sort of an English name than her original Spanish name.
Oh, God. What movies was she in?
All the Colors of the Dark and Death Walks on High Heels are 2 of the films she's in.
This I do not know, so I'm going to take a wild guess here and say... Amy Susan.
No, incorrect. Justin, do you know?
Is it Susan Scott?
It is Susan Scott. Well
done. Hey, I was halfway close.
You were halfway close, but halfway is not good enough. Close but no cigar. Justin, do you want A or C?
Can I have C, please?
Okay. Which Bond girl appeared in Short Night of the Glass Dolls and The Black Belly of the Tarantula?
Barbara Bach.
She is in them indeed. Another point for Justin, who's now ahead.
Hooray!
Hooray! That means that, Nathan, you're left with A, which is which actress plays David Hess's wife in Body Count and was also in Four Flies on Grey Velvet?
Mimsy Farmer?
It is. Well done, Nathan. You're on the scoreboard.
I can't believe I knew that.
Mimsy Farmer. So Justin's on 3, Joseph is on 2, Nathan is on 1. Okay, the next round is completely pilfered from Joseph's quiz from last week. It is What's in a Name. I'm going to give you the name of a popular Italian horror film and 4 aliases for the film, one of which is incorrect. The other 3 are correct. You have to name the one that is false. So, Justin, you're first. A, B, or C?
Can I go for A, please?
Okay, Deep Red has many names around the world. Which one of these is not one of them? Is it Schizoid, Suspiria 2, Bloodlink, or The Hatchet Murders?
Can you say them again?
Yeah, Schizoid, Suspiria 2, Bloodlink, or The Hatchet Murders.
Well, I know it's definitely The Hatchet Murders is correct, because that was the American title. Suspiria 2 was the Japanese title. So it's between Schizoid and Bloodlink. Schizoid was the American title for the Lucio Fulci Lizard in a Woman's Skin in the States. So, but it could have been released somewhere else as that title. Bloodlink was a kind of a early 80s giallo slasher. So it's between those two. So I'm going to have to guess. I'm going to say Schizoid.
And you are correct. And, well, you've already answered this. For a bonus point, can you tell me what Schizoid was an alternate title for?
Okay. So do I get that point?
You do.
Hey!
Well, yeah, can you tell me what Schizoid was an alternate title for, even though you've already said it?
A lizard in a woman's skin.
Yes. So you are now you've got 2 points for that. So you got 5. You're on 5 now, Justin. Who's next? Nathan, do you want B or C?
C.
Okay. A Bay of Blood appeared under these names, one of which is false. Can you tell me which it is? Last House on the Left Part 2, Bloodbath, Carnage, or Wide-Eyed in the Dark?
Wide-Eyed in the Dark.
That is correct. Can you tell me for a bonus point what Wide-Eyed in the Dark is an alternate title for?
Wide-Eyed in the Dark is actually an alternate title for Deep Red, The Hatchet Murders.
No, I'm afraid not. Okay. Joseph, can you tell me for a point what Wide-Eyed in the Dark is an alternate title for?
For what Wide-Eyed in the Dark it's an alternate title for?
Yeah. For which film?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say, I don't know, so this is going to be a wild guess, but Wide-Eyed in the Dark, was it Suspiria?
Afraid not. Justin, do you know?
I think, I'm not sure, but it's, I know it's I can see the image. Is it Eyeball?
It is Eyeball. Well done. So at the end of round 3, Justin is storming ahead. As a European, he has an advantage. He's on 6, and Joseph and Nathan are on 2. Okay, this next one is called Argento Almosts. This has nothing to do with your pesky cat.
He's still trying to get in.
Is he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
This is about people who almost made it into Argento movies. So we're back to Nathan. It's your choice, A, B, or C?
A.
Okay. In Dario Argento's Trauma, which of these famous actors was not considered by Dario Argento for the lead role? Was it James Spader, Kiefer Sutherland, or John Cusack?
John Cusack.
Incorrect, I'm afraid. Joseph?
James Spader.
Incorrect. I can't really pass
Justin gets it.
Yeah. No, that's
Kiefer
unfair.
Sutherland.
Sorry?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yes. Are we allowed to give Justin a point for that?
He might as well. It's process of elimination. He gets half a point.
Okay, half a point. You're on 6.5 then, Justin. Okay. Yes, the role, of course, went eventually to the famous Christopher Rydell. We all know him, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Joseph, you're next. B or C?
C.
C. Let me turn the page. Okay, only one of these actors was considered for Tenebrae, so two of them weren't. You've got to tell me who was. Was it Christopher Walken, John Hurt, or Sam Waterston?
Okay, now, you said two were...
No, only one of them was considered for Tenebrae, and I want you to tell me who was considered for a role in Tenebrae back in 1982.
Okay, so only one of these was considered for a role?
Yeah, so Christopher Walken, John Hurt, or Sam Waterston?
John Hurt?
I'm afraid not. Justin?
Christopher Walken?
Yes, indeed. Another point for Justin. Sorry, guys.
I love this quiz.
So, Justin, you're left with B. In Argento's Stendhal syndrome, before he cast his own daughter Asia in the lead role, which of these actresses did he not consider? Bridget Fonda, Jennifer Jason Leigh, or Holly Hunter?
Probably I'd say Holly Hunter.
And you would be right. Storming ahead with your Euro knowledge.
Oh. Yeah. It's like mastermind.
It is.
Not that I'm a mastermind, but...
okay, well, at the end of that round, I'm afraid Justin is on 8.5. Joseph and Nathan are still on 2. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. I already knew I was going to lose, and I posted that on because
I resigned myself to Justin winning this long ago.
I have a confession. I'm not a big fan of Euro horror. I'm sorry. I like American horror and Canadian. I'm very sorry.
That's insulting our Europeianness.
I'm not trying to insult your Europeanness. I'm just saying it's not my favorite genre.
My penis?
I'm not trying to insult your penis.
Euro penis.
Euro penis.
Your Euro penis.
That's
Nathan. Nathan, when it comes on to questions about Terror at Tinkiller and sort of late 80s slashers, then you will win. You know.
Well, he certainly will if I'm one of the contestants.
Or Joseph will give you a run for your money, but I probably won't know which hair curler they used in Terror at Tinkiller. But
I do. It was the Max 350.
Well, exactly. There you go. So.
Okay, the next round is called Continental Controversy. So, Joseph, you're up first. A, B, or C?
I will go with A.
Okay, why did Lucio Fulci end up in trouble with the law for his 1972 giallo, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin?
He ended up in trouble with the law for his 1972 giallo, Lizard in a Woman's Skin?
Yep.
Oh, boy. Was it for animal cruelty, the dog scene?
Exactly right. Well done.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The scene in which Carol encounters disemboweled dogs was considered so realistic that the authorities were convinced that Fulci had mutilated real canines. Fortunately, Carlo Rambaldi, the special effects artist who produced the props, turned up in court with them to convince them that it had all been faked. So that's a point for Joseph. It's very good. Very good. Justin, B or C?
Not that it matters or anything.
No. B, please.
B. Okay, what controversy delayed the release of Argento's hilarious 2009 film Giallo?
It was Adrian Brody sued to have it stopped being released.
For what reason?
Because he didn't get paid.
Exactly right. A point for Justin. And eventually it was settled out. It was resolved in January of 2011 out of court. Nathan, you're left with C. So why did Joe D'Amato's Anthropophagus end up on the BBC News in the mid-80s?
Oh, it's because a woman, Mrs. Elmador, she took her kindergarten class because they thought it was anthropology film. And she took them to show them about artifacts, and they were unfortunately greeted with fetus ripping.
I would love that to be the right answer. That did kind of happen with Paranormal Activity 4 just before Christmas. Didn't it, Justin?
It did.
Cinema
it did
UK.
Yes. Well, I didn't see the whole film, but it did. Yeah. I did see the beginning of the film where
they recaps the end of part 2. Yeah.
Yes.
That's not the right answer, I'm afraid, Nathan.
Oh, poor Mrs. Elmador.
Yeah, I love Mrs. Elmador.
Me too.
Is that even a real name?
No, I just made it up.
You're very good at ad-libbing. Joseph, do you know why Anthropophagus...
Now, what was the actual question again?
Why did Joe D'Amato's Anthropophagus end up on the BBC News in the mid-'80s?
Oh, because it was the fetus eating scene, but it was actually a skinned rabbit.
Yeah, I'll give you a point for that. It was the fetus eating scene was accused of being an example of snuff. People were convinced it was a real live abortion on camera, which it obviously wasn't. So that's a point for you, Joseph. Okay, at the end of that round, Justin is on 9.5, Joseph is on 4, Nathan is on 2. Sorry, Nathan, you can get your revenge on me with the Terror at 10 Killer quiz.
Oh, okay.
Okay, our final round is dialogue. Again, this is pilfered from Joseph's quiz from last week because I have no ideas of my own. Sorry, Joseph. Hello? Yes.
Hello?
You're all still there. Okay, so I'm going to quote lines of dialogue. A lot of these are quoted in different languages on the DVDs I have, so I didn't bother lifting audio clips. So who is next? I can't remember. Is it Justin's first now?
Yes.
Justin, do you want A, B, or C?
I'll go for A again, please.
Okay, A, one of my favourite pieces of dialogue. You have 24 hours to get that lesbian in bed with us, otherwise pack your bags and go to the shithouse gutter. Can you tell me the name of the film?
Is it The Help?
Sounds like something that would be said in Showgirls, actually.
It is. It does sound like something that would be said in Showgirls. It's not actually a piece of dialogue I remember, so I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark, and I'm sure it isn't, and say A Blade in the Dark. Well, of course, it won't be that, but...
It's not, I'm afraid. Oh, yeah, you're trying that technique again. Oh, it won't be that, will it? And I go, no, and then you have another guess. No, well, it's not that. No. Nathan, you have 24 hours to get that lesbian in bed with us, otherwise pack your bags and go to the shithouse gutter.
The Lesbian in the Outhouse of Dark.
That's a movie that needs to be made.
It is indeed, yes.
This is quite a tricky one, though, I will admit. Joseph, do you know?
Yes, I actually do know this. This is Lucio Fulci's Massacre.
Well, it is Massacre. It's not. That's a Lucio Fulci produced movie. It's actually Andrea Bianchi, the director of Burial Ground, who made that film.
Oh, well.
That movie any good? I've never seen it.
It's quite fun. Oh. It's got a lot. Have you ever seen...
Was I right?
You were right, yes.
Okay.
So, point for you. Have you ever seen A Cat in the Brain, Nathan? The Lucio Fulci movie? All right. Some of the scenes from this are reused in Cat in the Brain.
I kind of think that Nathan would probably quite like Cat in the Brain.
Oh, okay. I will put it on my list. I like Fulci from what I've seen.
Yeah. Well, if you imagine...
Nathan...
Sorry, I was going to say to Nathan, if you imagine it's nothing like his kind of zombie movies, the early 80s. If you imagine Terror at 10 Killer with loads of gore, that's how it is.
I think it's a lot better than Terror at 10 Killer myself. Yeah. Nathan, do you want B or C for the dialogue quotes round?
B.
Okay, B. Shit, I've gone and left Gordon's foot on the coach.
Severance.
Well done.
Well done.
I love that movie.
The Christopher Smith movie from 2005. Joseph, you're left with C, which is, you women are all the same, a menace to society. You women should stay at home where you belong. You've got the brains of a chicken.
Wow. You women are a menace to society?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and say... I'm trying to think of a movie that demeans women. That's Euro. That's kind of all of them.
You're very much on the right lines.
I'm going to say New York Ripper.
And you would be right. Well done.
God, I can't believe I got that.
Well done indeed. That's the end of this fabulous Euro quiz.
Wow.
And Justin, you will be able to buy that new Zimmer frame because you have won with 9.5 points.
Well, what was that?
What was that noise?
What was that? Was that a bell?
It was like right on cue, whatever it was.
Giving you a bell clang. Yeah, it was a bell clang for congratulations. Actually, I dropped something.
All right.
Joseph,
you're in second place with 6 points, and Nathan has 3, which is probably still better than I did in the Christmas quiz, if that's any consolation.
Actually, I think I had a lot of fun with my fake answers on this one.
You did, and you've given us some great ideas if I ever become a filmmaker. I want to do Lesbians of the Dark, whatever it was called.
Lesbian in the Outhouse of Dark.
Yes.
That does need to be made. Be made. So if you are a filmmaker out there, well, actually, Nathan, why don't you make it?
I guess I could.
Could your grandmother play a lesbian?
I don't think she...
the Chirac could.
She's retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she told me that she's retired from her acting days.
Oh, that's a shame.
In the event that the quiz was going to be a tie, I had a tiebreaker question, which was, can you name, and of course this has been done recently, can you name the film this piece of dialogue is from? You make my member throb.
Bloody Moon.
No.
Oh.
It's not one we covered. It's one I did in favorite dialogue.
Oh, Sorority House Massacre.
You make my member throb, Gloria.
Is it Pictures of Goya?
Yeah, it is. That would have been the tiebreaker question, but we didn't need it. So well done, Justin.
Thank you. Right. Well, I won't lord over it, apart from my superior Euro knowledge. But obviously, we'll leave that alone, but we will seek nicely into our feature presentation, which is 1981's Absurd.
Okay, well, the film opens with a man on the run. A priest is in hot pursuit. The man, in his panic to escape, accidentally gets impaled on railings. He crawls to the nearest house for help with his intestines hanging out. He is taken to hospital where the doctors make an astonishing discovery. The man has regenerative powers, I knew I'd mess up that word, that make him almost immortal. He also has a temper on him to match that of Justin on a Friday night outside his local pub. It's not long before he escapes from the hospital and goes on a mad killing spree, focusing on a young family, including a girl called Katya, who's confined to her bed with a spinal injury, her younger brother Willie, and their babysitters Peggy and Emily. Now, this is Joe D'Amato's semi-sequel, I suppose you'd call it, to Anthropophagus, which was released the previous year in 1980. Both films feature the hulking presence of George Eastman as this Greek villain. In Anthropophagus, he played sort of a normal man who had turned into a sadistic cannibal. In this, he is a science experiment gone wrong. And Absurd opens with George arriving at the front door of the Bennett's house with his guts hanging out, which echoes the final scene of Anthropophagus. But really, that's where the similarities of the two kind of end there. This is much more of a Halloween clone. Very much a Halloween clone, in fact. I mean, George Eastman is the Michael Myers character. Edmund Purdom, here playing a Greek priest come scientist, is in the Sam Loomis role. This film seems to indicate, and I will get into spoilers here, I'm afraid, that Annie Bell as the babysitter may be the Laurie Strode, but that role ends up going to Katya Berger, who plays Katya Bennett, the girl who's rigged up to some kind of spinal injury contraption in her home. And then Charles Borromel is Sheriff Brackett, and it even includes a Tommy Doyle character in the shape of Willie, who keeps talking, to the babysitters about the boogeyman and how he keeps seeing the boogeyman around, and of course nobody is taking him seriously. What was interesting though is that it also predicts some elements from Halloween 2, which hadn't been released at the time they were making this film, so it just must have been sheer coincidence. But it has a hospital setting for maybe the opening half hour or so. You get a nurse killed by having a sharp implement stuck through her temple, and then you have a final girl who is disabled in some way, or due to injury. In this case, in Halloween 2, of course, Jamie Lee is up to her eyes in morphine or whatever it is, which sort of makes her escape all that more difficult. And spoiler alert, slightly, the killer in Absurd, much like Michael Myers at the end of Halloween 2, is blinded. In this case, it's with a compass, the technical drawing kind rather than the navigational kind, because I don't think sticking a Boy Scout's compass in someone's eye is going to do any good. I think Absurd is a much, much better film than Anthropophagus. Anthropophagus has huge problems with its pace. You get scenes of characters walking around with a candle where nothing much happens. Whereas with Absurd, the story, if you can call it as such, is constantly propelling forward. Something is happening. I mean, there are lulls, of course, and the film could do with being possibly 10 minutes shorter. But, the gore is plentiful. It's quite crude, but it's a step up from what they had produced previously in Anthropophagus. Some of the dubbing I found to be particularly interesting. Of course, as with a lot of child characters in films of this era, they're dubbed by adults, which makes their voices sound very, very bizarre. And Willie, the little brat, is dubbed by, a high-pitched woman, in much the way that Giovanni Frezza was dubbed in all those Lucio Fulci films. And then there's a character of Peggy who is played by Cindy Ledbetter, and she has an American accent for most of the film, but then there's one scene where she sort of adopts this phony Irish accent, Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman style. Justin, do you have the clip there? This is what
I do. Peggy Potato.
Peggy
Quit
Potato.
sniffling or the boogeyman will be getting you.
It's not true. Mommy says there is no boogeyman.
Oh, no? And who do you think that was we saw before? And you can't be sure he won't come back. You'd better get into that bed and hide your face under the covers, because if you can't see him, he can't see you.
What will he do if he does see me?
He'll eat you. You know what it feels like to be eaten.
Do you know what it feels like to be eaten?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So that's Peggy and Willie having that wonderful conversation in an Irish accent for some bizarre reason.
So wait a minute. Someone is going to eat Willie?
Yes.
I
know. This film has so many levels. This was Freddy's Revenge 4 years before Freddy's Revenge.
Yeah.
Willie is actually quite the character because he's possibly not as obnoxious as the kid in Nightmares and a Damaged Brain or the Boogeyman, but he's still eminently slappable, I think, especially when he throws his hilarious mini tantrum when he's not allowed to switch over from the boring soap opera. Actually, he reminds me, if you look at his face, he looks like a very, very young Susan Boyle, I think.
Really? Well, he's got the same hair. Yeah.
I think facially he looks like Susan Boyle. He has the hair of Leo Sayer. Maybe he's the love child of the two.
Gosh,
he's quite
what a frightening thought.
Yeah, he is possibly one of the worst actors. I mean, I know I looked up his IMDb, and he was only 7 when they filmed this, so you have to give him some leeway, but he's possibly one of the worst actors I've ever seen in a film. I sent you guys a picture of a character from Sesame Street called Don Music. He was quite an obscure one. He was this neurotic composer who could never finish his songs, and he used to always end up slamming his head off the piano keyboard. Does anyone remember Don Music?
I don't remember him.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But he looks exactly like the father in Absurd, I think. And anytime he comes on screen, I just burst out laughing. I expect Kermit the Frog to walk in. I think there's plenty to like in this film. I'm interested to hear what you guys think, because it's not a film we've ever discussed before. I'm not a fan of Joe D'Amato, but I've seen quite a few of his films, and I do think there's usually something to like in every one of them that I've seen. And I think this is one of his better films. He has the pacing more or less down to a T. It's certainly much improved on Anthropophagus, I think. As I said, could do it possibly being 10 minutes shorter. The scene where Annie Bell has her head shoved in the oven seems to go on forever. That could definitely have been shortened. But I think it's a fun movie. I can see why it ended up on the Video Nasties list, as there's quite a lot of Gru in there. So I'll hand it over to Nathan next. What did you think of Absurd?
I really enjoyed it. Poor Annie Bell. I mean, like you said, that scene just seems to go on, and she's just slowly getting burned alive. And I don't know. Part of me thought that she might end up being the heroine, and even after the oven scene, she comes back to help the kids again, and only to get scissors rammed into her throat. And she just she got no respect there. From Mikos. I kind of agree with you. I think that it's better than Anthropophagus, even though I really enjoyed Anthropophagus. I do think Absurd is paced better. It doesn't have many dragging moments, which I really enjoyed. Of course, I love the gore, and I love the killer. I thought it was a really fun movie, and what an ending! I mean, what a final shot for a movie. That was awesome. It's probably one of my favorite endings of all time for any movie.
Nathan, is it the first time you've seen it?
No, I'd seen it before.
Okay.
It'd been years ago on an old bootleg VHS tape. So this is the first time I've seen it since then. But no, I mean, I really, really enjoyed it, I have to say.
I did feel sorry for Annie Bell as well, because I thought the characters are flimsy, as you would expect in a Joe D'Amato film. But I thought she was kind of likable, and also she reminded me of Julie Andrews in Sound of Music, and it just felt wrong seeing her head being shoved into an oven for so long.
Right.
Joseph, what did you think of Absurd?
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. The Annie Bell character reminded me of the ginger from Don't Go in the Woods, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Ingrid?
Yeah, Ingrid.
Yeah.
She's maybe a little more attractive, but not much. But,
leave Ron Howard alone.
That's really
Ron Howard, yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
But you were talking of the oven death. I thought that was hilarious because, he has to turn the pilot on, or the burner, and that takes forever. And then she just squirms, and she just won't seem to die, and then she doesn't die. She basically, has her whole face burned, but she doesn't die. She, gets stabbed a little bit later on. Absurd has a few scenes like that. There's one where it has like this precognitive kind of reflection of American society where they all sit around, getting fat by eating pasta and watching football. That's pretty much what we all do over here in the States. But
well, no, I didn't know about the spaghetti. I thought it would be burgers.
Yeah. Well, I don't like spaghetti anyway, but
or
pretty much.
No,
I don't care for hot wings either.
How dare you?
Twinkies?
Yeah. No, I'm not a big Twinkie fan.
You are un-American. Get out.
Yeah. I'm the most anti-American American there is. But anyway, you said it's a lot like Halloween, but I say it's a lot more like Halloween 2 with the girl in the bed, and I know you did mention that, and it reminds me a lot of Silent Rage with the killer who's a science experiment and he cannot be stopped by conventional means, and he just keeps coming and coming. Take that for yeah, I knew that was coming.
Have you seen some of Joe D'Amato's other movies? Then that you would know that was yes. Because I think in is it Porno Holocaust he's in?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Who's in Porno Holocaust?
What's his name?
George Eastman.
Fiore, whatever.
Yeah.
Luigi Montefiore. Yeah, George Eastman.
Or George Eastman, as he's known.
Sorry,
he doesn't get his winkle out though. He leaves that to the two actors who appear on the soap opera in the film.
Yeah.
Oh, they're in Porno Holocaust and they get down to it on the beach.
Okay. Sorry, Joseph. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Anyway, it reminds me a lot of those films. I wonder, in the first film, Anthropophagus, his name is Nikos Karamanlis, but in here it's Nikos Stephanopoulos. Why did he change his name? Did he
Well, I don't think it's a sequel. Yeah.
Oh, well. I was wondering if, after that whole debacle in Anthropophagus, if he'd stopped at the Social Security office and got a new name or something.
Yeah, he's also got some plastic surgery because he's got rid of that.
Yeah, because he's not Klingon. He looks a lot better. He looks more like a Klingon. BG. He looks more like a BG rather than a monster here.
Yeah.
But I like the jigsaw, the table jigsaw lobotomy scene. It looks fake and kind of high definition, but it's still kind of fun. And you said the little kid, it looks like Leo Sayer. Every time he came on screen, I kept thinking, "You make me feel like dancing. I want to dance the night away." But the copy I watched, I obtained it through the Baby Jesus. The quality kept shifting in and out. Like I wonder if it was like stuff like I think it was an uncut composite, but a lot of scenes were like really grainy.
Did it have the title Rosso Sangue?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the Maya Communications DVD, which is what I have. Which
it's the German one, isn't it? That's the one I saw.
Yeah, it's it comes with a disclaimer at the start saying that it was sourced from several different prints to give it the most complete version possible. So
yeah, well, I didn't see that, but yeah, it was very, very up and down in quality. But I enjoyed the film. I think it's a lot of fun. It's certainly better paced than Anthropophagus, which is a movie I don't really particularly care for. And I do love that final shot. I love, this is a spoiler, so fair warning. I do love the girl comes out the door holding his severed head, and she's got this kind of tone like, "Hey, look, everything's okay. I have his head," and then it just goes off. So Absurd, I would give a thumbs up.
Yay. And would you give a thumbs up to Absurd, Justin?
Yes, with reservations. I mean, it's still... well, I enjoy it, and I enjoy it as kind of a bad movie, and And also because I love the whole time period, and I love Italian movies. It's not a good movie by any stretch, but it does it once, especially in the last third of it, when actually has some quite good suspense in it, which I forgot. And also I saw the German release this time, and it's the first time I've actually seen it in a semi-decent presentation, because like most people, I think I saw it on the copy I had was an nth generation VHS copy, and everything was quite blurry, but it actually looks pretty good. And of course Joe D'Amato was not more famous, but he was a famous cinematographer, wasn't he, before he started making films, and he carried on doing that for all the way through his long career as director. So the film looks really good. There were a couple of things I want to pick up. You said, obviously, what's been said is pretty much what I would say. A lot of it's already been said. But I did take a couple of sound clips. Excuse me. The first was of that fantastic soap opera that Willie and Peggy are watching, and I was thinking, if you listen to this, you can see you can see why more soap operas don't have porn actors and actresses in them.
It's not too late, Angela, darling. We could start again. Why not?
How can you ever think that, Noel?
It's easy. When your feelings run as deep as mine do, my dearest, nothing seems to be impossible.
It can't be, Noel. You know that.
That's simply not true, my love. We did decide on a policy of forgive and forget, didn't we?
You did, Noel. I can't. If you're thinking of what went on, yes, I can forgive that. Only, how does one forgive the future?
But what happens next? Does anyone know? Do they get back together?
But it doesn't make any sense, does it? And obviously they were dubbed, because it sounds like Brief Encounters, doesn't it?
It does.
Like,
I'm wondering if that is an outtake from because Joe D'Amato made 5 porn movies starring both those actors, who are Mark Shannon and Lucia Ramirez.
Right.
He made 5 porn movies with them in 1980/81. And I'm wondering if that was a scene from it, just with different dialogue dubbed over it.
It probably
and
was.
It makes it interesting that the 7-year-old kid is watching maybe possibly Hard Sensation or Porno Holocaust.
Indeed. The other thing I noticed, did you notice the link between this film and Pieces?
Yes, Edmund Purdom.
There was that, but there was also this.
Oh, hi! You got here just in time.
Oh, yes.
Glad you got
In the background, the music. Yeah. So it's got the same music that Linda Day George that music while she does that fantastic shouting was playing in the background while they're preparing to get pasta in front of the American football game. So I did wonder whether the director of Pieces had seen Absurd and then thought, wow, that inspired me to make Pieces, perhaps. Who knows? But back to the film, I did notice it was the people who made it was Metaxa Corporation. And isn't Metaxa a really horrible alcoholic beverage in Greece?
I don't know. That's your area of expertise.
I think, it is my expertise. But I think Metaxa is kind of a, what's it called? That I can't remember. The one that if you brush your teeth, you get drunk again the next day. I'll remember it anyway. But it's like an aniseed type drink. I love the anglicised cast names because obviously this was something that a lot of Italian films did, and because he obviously clearly made it for the American market, didn't he? This whole pretending it was America, and obviously anyone who's living in America, I'm sure if they watched it would have seen straight away it wasn't America, and in fact anyone probably watching it would have seen it was Italy. But I loved they gave they anglicised all of the cast names, and my favourite one had to be Jack Bush, which was the production manager. So I wonder what his real name was. The gore effects I thought were still pretty effective, weren't they? They were kind of cheap and nasty, but I thought they were pretty effective. And when poor Peggy gets a pickaxe through the head, although you don't really see much when the other woman finds her and she's got it coming out the bottom of her chin, I think it's as a gore movie, it's pretty effective. I thought Edmund Purdom was pretty funny with his whole I serve God with biochemistry. And it's just bizarre, this idea that somehow he's this monster has escaped to America and he's chasing him from the Greek islands and he's got drachmas, hasn't he, rather than American dollars and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a very strange way to try and link the two films. I thought George Eastman was pretty funny in it as well. I mean, he kind of a bit of a trendsetter because he kind of has the same hairstyle as Harry Styles from One Direction.
Oh yeah, I can see.
He's got that. Yeah. He's got that kind of look. But apart from obviously, Harry Styles isn't 6'9" tall and stand around. His way of emoting is kind of baring his teeth and bugging his eyes out.
Is Harry your favourite from One Direction?
I don't even know.
I prefer Niall.
Do you prefer Niall? Well, that's because he's Irish, don't you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah. No, I prefer Zayn.
Yeah,
yeah.
Thought so, yeah.
What about you, Nathan?
I don't know their names.
What about you, Joseph? I'm sure you've got a favourite.
I don't know either. See, I thought he looked like one of the Bee Gees, like Andy Gibb or something.
Yeah, it's just that kind of that hairstyle he had has kind of come back into fashion, which just goes to show if you have the same hairstyle for a long time, it will eventually come back into fashion.
Will my 1986 mullet ever come back into fashion, do you think?
Probably not, no.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he have more like a skullet in Anthropophagus? He's kind of balding on top, but his hair is kind of stringy and long in the back, but here it's kind of thick and wavy, and he's got a full head of hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
and he looks better. Yeah,
exactly. He looks a lot better. So it's that
good plastic surgery. Good plastic surgeon.
Indeed. The other things I noticed, obviously, Michele Soave, if that's the right way of pronouncing it, was the person who gets killed on the bike, wasn't he? Who was obviously the director of Stage Fright, and Della Morte Dell'Amore, and a number of other films. What else? It kind of reminds me, it's very, the whole idea of having the girl in the bed and she's paralysed and she can't get out. I thought it was very Linda Blair in Airport, wasn't it? Do you know of Linda Blair, who's famous with the nun playing the guitar to her in Airport? And I thought it would have been good if a nun had turned up with a guitar and attacked George Eastman, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But I do think it's remarkable, the likeness to Halloween 2, and I've heard, and I think myself probably thought for a long time this is a rip-off of Halloween 2 because it's so close, and especially the things you listed, Erik, and with the the whole hospital section and the final girl being incapacitated and the monster being stabbed in the eyes so he can't see, all of these things. And, I do wonder whether or not the people who made Halloween H2O had watched Absurd and nicked their ending from this film.
Oh, yeah.
It could have happened. Very unlikely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think it for all the wrong reasons, and sometimes when you're watching a bad movie, that's part of the joy. The dubbing's very funny. And the gore is plentiful, and the pacing is much better, as you said, than Anthropophagus. And towards the end, there is that kind of effective sort of suspense. And I loved how George Eastman would just stand around corners and just look at people, like do a Michael Myers kind of tilt of his head and stare at Annie Bell closing a window, or Willie closing a window, or sort of endless people closing windows and opening them. But
there's one scene at the end where where Willie's roaming around the house, and I think he goes into the kitchen maybe, and George Eastman's standing in the closet, and doesn't he grab Willie? But then Willie runs away.
Yes, he does grab Willie. Joseph.
Sorry, I just had to get that joke in there.
So immature.
I keep fishing for a Kenneth Williams, but it's not happened yet.
No, please. Oh, your hand.
I figure it's only fair for a European to Kenneth Williams to make an appearance.
Exactly. I am looking for some fresh Kenneth Williams quotes, so they might be on next time. But Erik, do you want to take us back in hand?
Okay. Ooh, matron. Yes, this film it was filmed in July of 1981, and then released in Italy in October of the same year. So it was quite a fast turnaround on the film. It was one of 7 films that Joe D'Amato made that year. He made this one under the pseudonym of Peter Newton. Again, that was an example of anglicising all the names. When it was originally announced in the press, Laura Gemser and Van Johnson headed the cast. Now, Van Johnson was in a lot of war films in the 40s and 50s. He's not an actor I'm familiar with myself, but Laura Gemser, or Gemser, not sure how to pronounce it, of course, was famous for being in a lot of Joe D'Amato's movies, particularly the Black Manuel series. But of course, that didn't transpire, and we got instead, Annie Bell and Edmund Purdom. It was released in the US as Monster Hunter, and then later on as Zombie 6 Monster Hunter, which I'm guessing was part of the zombie series that started with Zombie Flesh Eaters and then continued all the way up to Zombie 5 Killing Birds, and then you'd have Zombie 6 Monster Hunter, I guess. It was known as Anthropophagus 2 in Germany, Absurd, of course, in the UK and Ireland, and it was known as Horrible or Horrible, I suppose, in France. And that's actually the title on the cover of the DVD that came out from Maya Communications, even though the film itself is the title card is Rosso Sangue, which is the original Italian title for the film. It was released in November 1982 in the UK on the Medusa video label, uncut. It was then submitted to the BBFC in August of 1983 to try and give it a theatrical release, and it was cut by almost 3 minutes. And in the end, both the cut and the uncut version were banned as video nasties, and I don't think either version has ever been released since in the UK. As you say, Michele Soave had a cameo in it. He went on to make his directorial debut with Stage Fight, which Joe D'Amato produced, and George Eastman wrote the script for. Edmund Purdom is in there as well, a British actor we know well from Pieces, as we said, and Don't Open Till Christmas. He was also in The Night Child. He was in 2019 After the Fall of New York, one of my favourite early 80s Italian movies. Cindy Ledbetter, who plays Peggy, she was an Italian playmate in September 1978, and she went on to be in another one of my favourite Italian movies from the early 80s, the gloriously trashy Rats Night of Terror, where she meets a sticky end.
Love that movie.
It is. If it was a slasher movie, I would pick it for the Hysteria Continues, because it's so brilliant. Yeah. Joe D'Amato has a very, very successful son called Daniele Massaccese. Of course, Joe D'Amato's real name is Aristese Massaccese. Again, excuse my pronunciation. If he had an Irish name, I'd have it down to a T. But his son is a camera operator, and he's worked on huge films. He started out working in Italy on his dad's productions like Stage Fright, Ghost House, Killing Birds, Endgame. But he's now, in recent years, worked on Prometheus, X-Men First Class, Prince of Persia, huge big Hollywood movies. The music is by Carlo Maria Cordio, who provided music for 2 of our favourite films of all time, Pieces and Troll 2.
Oh, so there's possibly, that's a link then, isn't it?
That's another link, yeah.
Well, no, talking about with that music that was used in the in Pieces.
That music is a famous piece of, it's like probably Sousa or something, was it?
Yeah, I know it's just kind of a coincidence, wasn't it? Unless is it used in American sports, Nathan and Joseph?
I don't watch sports.
I don't watch sports.
Okay. No
Call
point
yourself
asking
real,
you then.
boys.
I never do.
The children in the film, Katya and Willie, are played by real-life brother and sister Katya and Casimir Berger, who were the children of actor William Berger, who's an Austrian actor. He was in, amongst others, My Dear Killer and 5 Dolls for an August Moon.
And his cousin was Ron Berger, who directed Savage Water, or wrote it, or starred in it.
Is that true?
No.
Sure, why not?
You're making things up. The mother in the film is played by Katya and Casimir's real-life mother, whose name is Hanja Konchansky. And she was her mother in real life, as I said. They have another sibling, Karin Berger, not Ron Berger, Joseph, who was a wardrobe assistant on a film that may be making an appearance on the Hysteria Continues in the near future, Hospital Massacre. Annie Bell, of course, we've discussed her. She's a French actress. She was an ex-girlfriend of Al Cleaver, who, of course, was in Zombie Flesh Eaters and lots of other Italian films at the time, The Beyond. She is also mistreated most famously, probably in The House at the Edge of the Park. And she went on to appear in various other Italian movies like Tiger Joe and The Alcove during the 80s, but she quit acting. She's now a social worker in France, apparently. According to the IMDb, now this is unclarified because I can't find any information on this, but it says that George Eastman is now married to Laura Gemser, or Laura Gemser, whatever her real pronunciation is. Now, she was married to Gabrielle Tinti until he died in 1991. But,
did you say Gabrielle Tinti?
Tinti. Tinti.
Oh,
you're just on the
so is that like words. Darker complexion breasts, Tinties?
Oh, Joseph.
Yeah.
What are you, 12?
Yes. Actually, I'm 25, remember?
Oh, yeah, you're 25. Yeah. Let me see, what else do I have here? Yes, the guy who plays Dr. Kramer is an actor called Ted Russoff. He is a dubbing artist mainly. He appears very little in front of camera, but he did an absurd. You'd recognize his voice because he's done a ton of Giallo films, Case of the Bloody Iris, Eyeball, Deep Red, Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye, Slaughter Hotel. He also was on Rats, Nights of Terror, Burial Ground, Anthropophagus, Contamination. All our favourite films, his voice is on them. Fatal Frames he's in as well. His wife was Carolyn de Fonseca, and she provides the voice of Mrs. Bennet in this film as well. And also the guy who looks like Don Music was another famous dubbing artist called Ian Danby, and he was all part of that group, so his voice is probably on a zillion Italian movies that we grew up with. I think that's all I have. Do you have anything, Justin?
We've covered quite a lot of it, actually. The only thing, a couple of bits, was that another one of those kind of weird connections was that William Berger, who was the father of Willie and Katja in the film, was the original Django. And obviously Django is the new Quentin Tarantino film, because there's a whole slew of Django.
Is that not...
was that the other one?
He's in Keoma, I know that, but is he in Django?
He played Django in some of the, because there's a lot of apparently there's a lot of different Django movies. I might be wrong on this, but this is what I saw on IMDb. He said that he played Django in some of the spaghetti westerns. But you look that up, Eric, and me.
I know Franco Nero was in the film called Django.
Yes,
Sergio Corbucci.
Franco Nero's in the new Django Unchained as well, isn't he?
He is a cameo, I think. Yeah.
Well, I shall look that up later. But the Annie Bell said of Joe D'Amato that he could have been one of the greatest filmmakers ever. so take that for what you will. Joe D'Amato.
He could have been, but he never was.
No, maybe it was a backhanded compliment. I don't know. Joe D'Amato was he was nicknamed the Evil Ed Wood. Which is ironic. Apparently, he was a very, very sweet and nice man, a bit like Mario Bava. He's known as being a very gentle, nice man. Now, Erik, I'm surprised you didn't mention this. Joe D'Amato directed a dizzying amount of films, and as you mentioned earlier, he turned to hardcore porn in the early 80s, but he also did loads and loads of hardcore porn later in the late 90s. But one of the films that wasn't hardcore porn, but he did a Dirty Dancing ripoff called Dancing Is My Life.
I didn't know about this.
May or may not be a porn movie. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, right.
So there you go.
Dancing Is My Life, is it?
Yes, so you should look that up. He did did quite a few, when it became in vogue in the 90s to porn rip-offs of popular films. He directed, amongst others, Anal Instinct and Anal Paprika. Apparently it was Paprika the film.
That's my favourite type of paprika.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one of his films, Anal Paprika and Anal Instinct. So I wonder which way the legs were opened in that one. But so I think that's pretty much everything I just
looked up Dancing Is My Life. That was the West German title for 11 Days, 11 Nights, Part 5.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also known as Sexy Dancing or Dirty Love.
You're gonna look at that. You should. That's gonna be your homework for the next one, Erik. You've got to watch that and get back to us and tell us if they put baby in the corner.
If they put anal paprika in the corner.
Yes. I think that's pretty much, apart from obviously, have we said, I mean, obviously the film got banned. And it was one of the 39 video nasties that was successfully prosecuted, because you did mention that, but it's because there were a lot more that were taken off the shelves. You know, there was the policemen pulling them off left, right, and centre, but it was one of the 39 which are the most infamous of the video nasties, aren't they? And as you can see, I can imagine, because what happened back then, and one of the reasons there was such a huge fury about this was that one of the Tory MPs got these films together and edited down, took out some gore scenes and played a kind of a greatest hits almost of the gore scenes to other MPs in the House of Commons. And of course it's a completely unfair thing to do, because it made it look like it was just wall-to-wall gore and that was no story or anything. But I can imagine with Absurd that if you took any of the gore effects out and put them in one of those sort of greatest hits type video packages, then it would be enough to get the film banned. But it's curious, it's never been released since in this country, because I don't really see why there'd be a problem with it now, but I might be wrong. But
did you know that there's an Anal Paprika Part 3, Menage à Death?
Is there?
Yeah.
Wow. What about Part 2?
Anal Paprika stars an actress called Erica Bell, whose most recent credit on IMDb is something called Outnumbered by Cock.
Well, we've all been there, haven't we, Eric?
Yeah.
So, Paprika, what was that? Was that a film, a popular film?
Let me have a look. It's a popular spice.
Yes, it is. It is, but I hadn't heard of it before. But presumably, if it was a Hollywood knockoff, there must have been a Paprika beforehand.
There is, yes. There is a Paprika from 1991, Tinto Brass. A young country girl comes to town and works in a brothel in order to help her fiancé get the money to start his own business. Paprika is a name given to her by the madam.
Right, okay. Well, Joe D'Amato did loads and loads and loads out of these films.
No pun intended.
No pun intended, but there were lots of loads. Apparently he got a bit bored of doing them, apparently, and he only used his real name once directing, and that was Death Smiles at a Murderer with Klaus Kinski, I think.
Oh, right,
It was that kind of early 70s kind of gothic giallo, sort of gore giallo. But all the other times he didn't want to. He was more interested in making money, really, than any kind of artistic statement. And his main kind of focus was his career as cinematographer. So apparently, while he was still doing these, he was still quite high in demand as a cinematographer for classier films, I kind of guess. But that's some of my knowledge, I think.
Well, I have a quote here from Joe D'Amato, which I think sums him up quite nicely. He says, "I do not have pseudo-intellectual pretensions like some colleagues of mine have. I do not want to be an artist. I work. I do not make art." And ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Well,
yes,
I don't know. I think Copsuckers 2 might be. Sounds quite highbrow. Or maybe, what about 120 Days of Anal?
Is that one of his?
Put that in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Definitely. Or Homo erectus? No?
They all sound good.
Yeah.
I'm sure there must be a podcast out there that reviews Joe D'Amato's slightly more risque output.
Well, he did a lot particularly in the 90s. He did a lot of taking historical characters and making porn movies out of them, like Tarzan and
was it Rocco Siffredi or whatever his name is? He was the Rocco. He was a famous
Rocco Siffredi.
That's it. Yeah.
So there we go.
There you go.
Actually, have any of you seen any other D'Amato films? I mean, I quite like some of his stuff, like Beyond the Darkness, Ator the Invincible, which is a sword and sorcery movie, is absolutely hilarious. I recommend it. Emmanuel in America, even though it's wall-to-wall boobies, is quite an interesting film, I think. The only one of his that I really can't stand that I've seen is Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, which goes on way too long and has no living dead and has too many erotic nights for my liking.
I haven't seen that one, but
I have.
I haven't.
It's very dull. Very dull.
Very dull. Very dull.
So, what about you, Nathan and Joseph? Have you got any Joe D'Amato gems for us?
No, I got some trivia about Absurd.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's what we mean, yeah.
Okay. I thought you were asking more about his porn career. No, the only thing I have is I remember Monster Hunter on Wizard Video, which is Absurd, and the back of the box, I have the description on the back of the Wizard Video box, and I'm going to read this so you can see what Wizard Video thought this movie was about. It says, into a seemingly tranquil village comes a priest with a secret mission to hunt and destroy inhuman beasts and demonic spirits. The priest finds more than he bargained for, a witch who cruelly blinds her victims, a sinister fog of doom, mutated creatures bent on revenge. The priest monster hunt leads him to the dreaded villa of Dr. Kramer, hidden deep in the shrouded forests where no villager dares to go. And here lurks an unspeakable trap, a web of supernatural terror that crushes the soul of its victims.
Wow. So, that's absurd. That's
super, in a nutshell.
Super misleading. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is absurd.
I wonder if anyone ever sued after seeing some of those films for wrongful whatever description.
Because we once, myself and my cousin once rented a film called Bitch Wants Blood. It was an Italian film, and we read the back of the sleeve, and it made it sound like a murder mystery, but it was very much a late 60s drama. When we got home, and we were absolutely furious.
Oh, I would be.
That reminds me of renting a movie called Meat Cleaver Massacre that had no meat cleaver massacres in it.
Oh, I've seen that one, yes. Have you ever had the back of video box ruin the ending of a movie for you?
Yes.
You get some, don't you, that just tell you the whole thing?
Yeah, they'll tell you Bloodstalkers. That movie, it tells you how everybody dies and how it ends.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to watch the movie.
Yes.
I like that movie.
Oh, that's a small favor. That's actually a large favor.
What about you, Joseph? Have you got anything for us?
Yes. Merriam-Webster defines absurd as being ridiculously unreasonable, unsound, or incongruous, having no rational or orderly relationship to human life, or lacking order or value, or dealing with the absurd.
Well, I think we can all apply that to this movie.
Yes.
That's my trivia. Actually, I had a few things, but you've pretty much glossed over them, so never mind.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
Well, Erik, do you want to wrap it up? Is there anything else you want to say about Absurd?
As you said, I think it could easily get past in this day and age. I don't think there's any interest probably in releasing it, certainly in this part of the world. So all we have left is the Maya Communications DVD, which, to be frank, isn't a great presentation, but it's probably the best we'll ever see. So, I think if you're going to watch one Joe D'Amato movie, I think this is the best one to go for, because it's his most. There's no big erections or vajayjays in it for once, and it has a decent pace, and it mimics the slasher style, I think, better than anything else he attempted at the time.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree. I agree with that.
I would agree.
Yes.
You would agree too, Nathan?
Yes.
Okay, well, all in agreement. So, if you are you a fan of Absurd, or do you hate Absurd, or have you got any? Have you seen Anal Instinct 1, 2, or 3? If you have,
Paprika,
or Anal Paprika Part 3, then write in and tell us. We're going to be back after the. Sorry, got something in my throat. We'll be back.
Is it Anal Paprika?
It's Anal Paprika Part 4, the back door.
We'll be back in a minute after this.
Be sure to search for and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at THC_podcast. Our voicemail is 858-233-9281. And you can email us directly at the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com.
Okay, I guess we have a lot of feedback this episode, so I guess I'm going to start us out. This is from Soren Thomsen. He's from Denmark, so I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Soren, I believe. It has a little slash to the O, so maybe it's Soren. I don't know. But anyway, he says, "Hi guys, I just had to send you another email to express my appreciation for the podcast and wish you all a belated Happy New Year, as well as congratulate you on your 50th show. What wonderful surprises will be in store for your devoted listeners in 2013, I wonder? I can think of a few underappreciated slasher films which celebrate their 30th anniversary this year, including The Mutilator and one of my personal favorites, Sleepaway Camp, which I really hope you will be covering in the near future. Please? Oh, and please also consider Dr. Giggles, which was the first slasher I ever bought on VHS, and which has a special place in my heart for that very reason. I have finally managed to listen to your entire back catalog of shows, and what a ride it's been. To think that, had it not been for you, I probably never would have seen gems such as The Prowler, Just Before Dawn, and The Initiation. I especially enjoyed the latter, in particular Daphne Zuniga's over-the-top performance as the evil twin. That's a spoiler there, of course we've already covered it, but so maybe this has a special resonance with me because I myself actually have an evil twin brother who's often tried to kill me. He says it's revenge for my alleged attempt to strangle him with the umbilical cord while inside our mother's womb. Crazy, right? Anyway, I wanted to say that I really love your recent string of episodes, especially the Scream episode. I was born in 1983, so I sadly missed the 80s slasher boom, but thankfully I was just the right age to fully appreciate the late 90s resurgence of the genre. I suppose for that reason alone, Scream will always be a favorite of mine, and I actually really liked Scream 4, which I thought was a vast improvement on the third film. I wish they would have killed off Dewey long ago, though. Such a boring character. Too bad the film didn't do better in the cinemas, but I can see how it might have failed to generate interest from new audiences. I suppose the horror genre has changed a lot since the late 90s, and despite Wes Craven's attempt to update the franchise, Scream 4 probably only really appeals to people who, like me, are a bit nostalgic about the first films. That's it for now. Keep up the excellent work. It's always a pleasure listening to your show, and I hope we have 50 more. At least, coming our way. All the best, Soren Thompson. He says, P.S. Justin has a sexy voice.
Oh. Ooh. Thank you, Soren.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a nice little happy ending, wasn't it, to that email?
He finished you off quite well, didn't he?
It did finish me off very nicely. Well, thank you, Soren. I'm glad you've been enjoying them, and so there's plenty more to come, isn't there, Erik?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, sorry,
we'll have 50 more, I'd say.
But yeah, well,
I'm certainly down for 50 more.
Yeah, well,
100
definitely.
more even, maybe.
Yeah, well, I'd love to. I think Sleepaway Camp may be coming up quite soon. I think it's probably a good idea to give it its 30th anniversary outing this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Soren, from Denmark, which is near Ontario, if I'm not very much mistaken. So, who wants to go next?
You got to be careful with those Canadian provinces, or you'll get lynched.
Yes.
By the bobbleheads of our listeners.
Well, shall I go next?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, this is from Javier, who has written in before from New York City. This was in regards to our last show on Hell Night, and he says, "Dear Justin and Co, you forgot to add some essential trivia points to your discussion about Hell Night, and as soon as we finished recording last time, I remember we completely forgot to talk about the director." But he goes on to say, "You mentioned that Bob Simone is the brother of the film's director, Tom, but what about the fabulous Tom de Simone? Surely most of you must be acquainted with his stellar filmography. His directorial debut is 1968's Terror in the Jungle, a film that should be heralded as worthy of sharing a double bill with either Plan 9 from Outer Space or Blood Freak, or even
Wait a
Terror,
minute. I'm sorry, Justin. Let me interrupt you for a second there. He said we didn't talk about the director, and the director is Tom DeSimone. Is that what he's saying?
Well, we didn't really go into his back catalogue.
Okay.
I think that's what he's meaning. And he goes on to say, this is a film about a plane that crashes in the Amazon jungle, a kid who survives it by floating down river in a coffin that contained a nun's corpse, and it goes up from there. Tom also directed 1977's Chatterbox about a singing pussy, Meow. So that would be right up our alley, wouldn't it? If it was of the feline kind, which I don't believe it is.
It's not of the feline kind.
No, I know.
I kind of missed the cat flushing the toilet since we haven't had a top 3 in a while.
I know. Well, let's have a little... So just in case you're missing that, yes. Javier goes on to say he also directed 1986's sublime Reform School Girls, the women in prison entry, The Concrete Jungle, featuring the individual who turned out to be the killer and Happy Birthday to Me. And one of the entries in The Student by Day, Prosty by Night, Angel trilogy, starring Donna Wilkes of Jaws 2 fame. But most remarkably, from about 1970 until the mid-80s, under the name Lancer Brooks, which is a great name for this kind of thing, he directed some delectably delicious masterpieces such as Swap Meet, Black Heat, Everything Goes, Good Hot Stuff, The Idol, Bye Bye Love, and Around the World with Erik.
What?
Oh, sorry. That last title was a typo. Anyway, some of you must have seen at least one of these films, haven't you? Love, 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 love your podcast. Keep up the good work. Javier in New York City. So, did you all know about Tom de Simone's previous
I knew about
career?
his porn past, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he did a lot of porn.
I'm looking at his IMDb listing here. He also has one that wasn't mentioned in the email with the wonderful title of How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Electric Banana.
Fantastic. Yeah. Javier gets back to us because he there's a follow-up email, which a short follow-up. He just says, because I wrote back to him to thank him for his email, and he said, "Thank you for your reply. It made me feel like Sally Field on Oscar night. You really made my day. I just want to make a couple of corrections to the info I sent to you. As it turned out, the entry in the Angel series that Tom de Simone directed, Angel 3, the final chapter, has a different actress, not Donna Wilkes, in the leading role. Her name is Mitzi Capture, the coolest named actress.
I like Mitzi Capture.
Yeah, so the coolest named actress since Stefania Stella. At least Tom's brother Bob has a role in it, playing a porn director. I wonder who this inspiration was. Also, the film title I got wrong wasn't Around the World with Erik. The correct title was Eating Erik. So there you go, Erik. So you were saying that I was...
That was retitled as Anal Paprika 4 for its release in Italy.
Was it?
Erik, have you ever had a chunky paprika Kit Kat?
I'm having one right now.
Was that available in a Spanish supermarket, Erik?
Yeah. Only in Spanish supermarkets, yeah.
On Broke Cunt Lane.
Mercadona.
Was it available by the checkout? So when you're buying your chunky Kit Kats, you could grab one?
Yeah.
Yes.
You got it in one. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Javier. That's, yes, that was interesting. And thank you for putting it right about the director. I did see, actually, just before we recorded Hell Night, I did not, I mean, it sounds wrong, but come across Tom de Simone's website, and it was too late for me to contact him, but obviously I'd love to talk to him about the film. And the
was it in Flash?
Was it in Flash?
Yes. That's kind of a double entendre there, but never mind.
All right.
Okay. I don't get it, but...
Finally, the last horse crosses the gate.
But I love the fact that his porn name was Lancer, because that's a double, not a double entendre, but a slight somebody who lances things. But yes, anyway, thank you, Javier, and thank you for writing, and hopefully we'll hear again from you soon. So we have one voicemail. Shall we play that?
Yep.
Do that?
You can pretty much guess who it's from.
Yes, and it's lucky for some, unlucky for others. It's voicemail number 13.
Hey, gentlemen. This is Brett calling you again. I'm on my way to the gym, but before I go to the gym, I'm going to stop for a McChicken from McDonald's. I heard a quote once that eating McDonald's after working out is like taking a shit after taking a shower. So I eat McDonald's before I work out. So it's like taking a shit right before your shower, I suppose. I'm in the car. I'm about to listen to the Hell Night show. Maybe you'll play the voicemail, the really, really bad voicemail that I left earlier. That was really rambling, unlike this one, which will be succinct and fast. But anyway, I also just realized I left my bag, and I won't be able to work out. I have to turn around and go get it again. Damn it. Okay, moving into a different lane. Talking and driving. Talking on the phone and driving, very bad combination. Okay, a few things. I finally watched Pieces, and I actually hadn't listened to your show yet. I was saving it because I knew the movie I wanted to watch. So I watched it. I watched it with my brother. It was great. We laughed. We loved it. Every second was genius. I'd give it 4 stars. Now I understand. I'll question again, when is your Friday the 13th 3 show going to go up? Although maybe you'll say White in your Hell Night, and this will become a repetitive message, so I apologize in advance. And I was wondering, maybe you've covered this. I haven't listened to all your shows. I'm working my way through the old ones while also listening to the new ones. And sometimes I pause and want to watch the movie first. Sometimes I just listen to it without watching the movie, depending. But I was wondering, if you guys all live on different continents, how did you meet in the first place? And which of you guys have actually met? It seems like Nathan and Joseph have met. So that is really all I got for you today. I love your show. Good work. I listen to it every time you post a new one. All right, guys. Have a good day.
Well, thank you, Brett. I was half expecting a kind of a James Dean moment at the end there where he crashed, but that didn't happen, did it?
Yes, do not talk on the phone while driving.
No. But
is that what happened to James Dean? Was he on his mobile when he?
Yes.
Yes,
he had a cell phone.
Yeah,
he did.
He had an iPhone. But to answer his question, I think we've answered this before, but Justin and I basically met through alt horror back in 97 or 98. Nathan and I met on my website, through my website, and then we actually met in person. But I haven't met Erik yet, and I haven't met Justin in person.
Well, how did you meet Erik?
I met Erik through Justin.
Yeah.
I read one of his reviews, and then he posted on my forum like once or twice, and so that's
Erik, I don't know if you and I met each other before the podcast.
I don't think we did, no.
I think the very first episode that I did is the first time I've ever talked to you before.
Yeah.
I knew Justin's website, because, I've always known of his website. And I did post on Alt Horror a little bit, a long time ago, and Joseph was very rude to me.
Yes, so was very rude. Very much. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, we've heard the story before.
You are a very rude individual, obviously.
Hey, I'm nothing compared to the smileys of the Alt Horror, the wrestling fanatics who trolled the forum. You remember those people, don't you, Justin?
Yes, a.k.a. Erik.
What? I was never on Alt Horror because I was too poor to have a computer. So I would have had to do it all at work, and I was too busy.
You were too busy doing Anal Paprika 4, weren't you?
Yeah, I was too busy filming, yeah. I met Justin I was in an internet cafe. Again, I was too poor to have a computer back then. This would have been the late 90s, and I found Hysteria, as it was known then. And I just emailed you because I found the review was really interesting, and it was all movies that I was into. So that's how I got in touch with Justin first.
Yes,
so I've actually known Justin longer than either of you two, but I've only met Nathan. I've known Justin for 15 years now. That's crazy.
That's what kind of anniversary is that? It must be like a copper or a
it's copper or
latex.
Coal maybe.
Yes, coal. Right. So
I'll give you some kind of
Justin that much until the podcast either.
No. Well, see, we all came together, didn't we? In this,
did.
I think for our 15th anniversary, I'll get Justin like a vegan bologna or something.
That would be lovely.
15 years is Crystal.
Is it?
Yeah. So I've known you for about 13 years or 14 years. So that's either lace or ivory.
Well, do you want me to dub you off a copy of the bird with the crystal plumage?
I've got the Blu-ray. So.
Or what about La Da Dee La Da Dow by Crystal Waters?
Nothing I ever do is good enough for you, Justin.
I'll tell you what you could get me, Joseph. How about a crystal replica of the unicorn from Black Christmas?
Ooh. Well, if I had that, I'd want to keep it myself.
Well, I know that's one, but that would be a nice present. But no, thank you, Brett, and I hope you survived your journey. And I'm sure we will hear from you again.
If we don't hear from him next time, we'll know he crashed and died.
Yes, if we don't hear from you, then we know you crashed and died. But I'm glad you enjoyed Pieces as well, because, who wouldn't enjoy Pieces? So,
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, well. Right, well, thank you, Brett.
Did Brett ask us any other questions? No?
Oh, did he?
I didn't think so.
No, that's okay.
No. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Go on then.
Yes, I'm not happy with the introduction to this email. It says, this is from, sorry, I'll just scroll down to see who it's from first. Brandon Miller. And it says, hello, gentlemen, comma, and Erik. And I think there's a typo in I think there's a typo. Well, there's a typo certainly in that first sentence, but in the second sentence here, I think there's a typo. He says, Happy Hell Night and Hell High are two slashers I've been waiting to hear you guys discuss, but they never seem to come up. Now, I think he means Hell Night rather than Hell High.
No, Hell High is a
movie.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a slasher film, is it?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you mean...
It's a slasher film.
Is it? See, I've never watched
it's the one where the four teenagers, they prank their teacher and send her over the edge, and she starts killing them one by one.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking...
Maybe he does mean Hell High, then. Anyway, he says, when I heard Hell Night was the next podcast, I knew discussing Happy Hell Night couldn't be avoided. Well, it did get brought up, video store fuck-up story, but I was wondering if any of you have seen it and what you think. On the subject of the ghost or prank scene in Hell Night, I'm voting hologram prank, but I didn't rewatch that part with the thought that it may be a real ghost in mind yet, so perhaps I would change my mind. Also, kudos to Joseph for a comment that had me laughing hysterically in public, causing some embarrassment. The subject of dropping the word chainsaw from films in the UK in the 80s got brought up, and Joseph asked if they would still remove the word if the title was Happy Chainsaw Go to Heaven Part 2 in 3D. This struck me as extremely funny, so thank you. Take a bow, Joseph.
Well, you're welcome. See, I as the resident heartthrob of the show, I don't often get to say funny things because I'm more like eye candy, but thank you. Yes. You know it. Yeah. Come on. Just go along with me here.
God, you've got a face made for radio, Erik. Not Erik, Joseph.
Anyway, Brandon goes on to say, sorry to make this even more long and rambling, but I listened to the last Slumber Party episode again yesterday, and I was wondering about a few things. The 1986 film Nomads was mentioned, I forget why, and it seemed as though none of you had seen it. Have any of you seen it since? If not, I highly recommend it. It's a bit slow, but extremely atmospheric. Also, in that episode, Nathan picks The Deadly Spawn for one of his top 3 80s non-slashers. I just wanted to let him know that Mondo released that film's soundtrack on a limited edition vinyl last week. It has really good artwork and might be worth checking out. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for a great show, Brandon Miller. P.S. P.S. Nathan rules! ! Oh,
wow. Yay again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon.
So everybody's getting filleted today except Erik.
Yeah. Why am I not getting filleted? You'll all be sorry when Anal Paprika wins the Oscar. Okay, The Nomads. I think we probably mentioned that because isn't Adamant in that movie?
Yes, he is.
I think I have a vague recollection of discussing that in an Adamant context. I still haven't seen it though. Is anyone else?
No. I get that mixed up with Dudes from 1988. Because it has a musician leaving in it. And I think it might be a similar movie where they go out into the desert and they get stalked by bikers. Is that what Nomads is about?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think I think it's vampire-y, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I've not seen it, so I don't know. But
okay. Has anyone seen Happy Hell Night?
Yes.
And what did you think of it?
It's okay, but I don't really care for the killer's one-liners.
Same here.
The killer looks amazing, doesn't he? He's really creepy looking, but then they give him really stupid Freddy-style one-liners. He's kind of like a really emaciated-looking priest, isn't he? I seem to remember.
I remember the cover, yeah.
And it's wasn't it one of those early films that was shot pretending to be America, but it's in fact like the Czech Republic or somewhere in Eastern Europe. You know, they do that quite a lot now, don't they? They make films in Eastern Europe pretending to be America, and Happy Hell Night is one of them. And I remember it being really convoluted and confusing towards the end with characters who just disappear and they never say why, and it just kind of... But I thought it's all right. It's a film. Wouldn't mind revisiting at some point.
No, it looks interesting, I have to say. Sam Rockwell is in it.
Is he?
Okay. Just looking at the IMDb listing here, yeah.
He of Clown House and later to go on in Moon.
Yes, and he's in something recently that's getting a lot of kudos. What is it?
I think he was in one of those
he's in Seven
Charlie's
Psychopaths.
Angels movies as well.
Okay.
Yes. Any other question? Oh, yeah. Nathan, are you going to go pick up the special limited edition vinyl of the Deadly Spawn soundtrack?
I'm going to go look that up because I like the soundtrack and I adore that movie.
Do you have a record player?
Fantastic.
Do you have a way of playing it? Do you have a way of playing vinyl?
I don't have a vinyl player because I don't know what that is.
Record.
A record.
Oh,
Plastic.
a record. Yes. Well,
Sorry.
I probably can go to an antique shop and find one. So I'll be on the lookout for that.
I don't think you need to go to an antique shop. I think vinyl's quite cool now. So
I think he needs to go to school because he doesn't know a lot of things are.
See, this is what I was talking about. The rudeness.
The rudeness,
So
Joseph.
No, I'm trying to help you here.
No, you are very.
It's called tough love. It's called tough love.
Nathan, you're still not picked on as much as I am, though. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but Eric, you like being Inga. I mean,
I don't like being Inga.
You're good at being Inga.
I want to be Jamie Lee.
You want to Jamie Lee?
I want to be Jamie Lee.
I wish there was one more girl in Halloween because I'd wonder who we all fit in as. I think Joe is more Annie because he's such a smart ass.
And
Eric is probably
You're the smart ass. I'm the heartthrob, remember?
No, you're the
See, I have another feedback
Eric
here.
is Linda.
Justin is Linda. No, Justin's Linda because he's a trollop.
That is so not
Yeah, but
true.
Linda's got a boyfriend. I mean, she's not much of a trollop, is she?
Yeah.
She's an uncontrollable libido. She's doing it in other people's parents' beds.
Haven't we all, Eric?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard Justin say totally.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. I've managed to.
Well, Eric, if you want to be Jamie Lee, do you eat a lot of hay?
I knew there was something like that
I
coming.
knew you were going to come up with something like that.
Oh, Joseph.
See, I have another feedback here that agrees with me. It says, Dear Hysteria continuers, I want Joseph to be my stunt double. He is so sexy. That is from Brad Pitt.
That signed
Really?
Joseph.
Really?
Yes.
Well.
Wow.
Well,
Does that
there
mean
you go.
does that mean I have to adopt like 500 children now? I don't know.
Joseph, that's about as believable as you not typing throughout that quiz.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt really did not write in. It was I don't know, one of those sexy actors.
George Clooney.
Yeah, George Clooney, sure, whatever. Although he's kind of old now.
This is descending rapidly. Yeah. So, so Nathan, you've got a long one.
Yeah, you gave me a long one. Feedback. Okay, it says, "Hi Nathan, are you okay to read this out today?" Oh shit, that's what Justin told me. Okay, let me start over. You keep talking about Toya, but I do not see who she is. I made a little search through YouTube and fell on a black recent singer from the 2000s or something, but it is not her, obviously. Whatever.
Did you heard
let me
her?
just interject and say he typed it as Toya, and it's Toyah. And her last name is Wilcox. Before I met Justin and Eric, I did not know who Toya Wilcox or Susie Banshee were, but now I do. So moving on.
It's an education, this podcast.
Yes.
It is.
It's a musication. All right, back to his. The four of you have not seen Anatomy yet. I mean, you did not mention this film in your Scream podcast, but believe me, it is much better than The Pool. However, I have to admit, it is a rather fun and entertaining German slasher movie, and the setting is quite original.
Sue, it's Toya.
Oh.
Where's it gone?
It's gone. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a shame. So carry on, Nathan.
According to me, and this is the feedback. This is not me. According to me, Anatomy belongs to the best slasher movies from the 2000s. But hey, it is only my personal meaning.
I've seen.
See. My recent view, 7 Deaths. What? Oh, I have seen Anatomy, and I disagree. I love The Pool. I do not think Anatomy.
Yeah, The Pool is much better than Anatomy. I'm sorry, it is.
I've seen Anatomy, but I haven't seen it for a long time, so I can't remember that much about it. But it's classier than The Pool. I don't know if it's as much fun.
Yeah, it's better made as well, but I don't know. The Pool's more entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. His recent viewing. 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye. A good Jello with, I don't know this name, Gainsbourg.
Yeah, Serge Gainsbourg.
Small role.
Serge Gainsbourg.
Okay. In a small role, but more a cameo to me. I like it, however. I think the setting could have been more varied, and the murder scenes are quite similar, too. Also, Moontrap, a very, very bad movie. The only good part is Bruce Campbell. Otherwise, a pure waste of time.
No. Moontrap is so much fun. It is so awful, but it's so much fun.
I'm not familiar with that film. What is?
It's basically they go to the moon and they find this robotic life form and they accidentally bring it back to Earth and it starts stalking and killing them one by one. It's so much fun. You have to watch it.
When was?
About 1989, wasn't it? Yeah.
89, yes.
Okay.
It's Walter Koenig from Star Trek and Bruce Campbell.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. I would recommend it. That's your homework.
Thank you.
Evil Speak. I think this movie belongs to the Nasties list. Well, for the unseen puppy murder. Well, it is really, really slow. Nothing really happens except during the last 30 minutes. The ending is quite similar to Carrie, don't you think? Have you seen this movie? I have seen it, and I think it is trashy fun.
I've seen it, and I think it's trashy fun too.
So
What
do
movie?
I love Evil Speak.
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
It's Clint Howard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the more attractive of the Howard brothers.
Yeah, the one that wasn't in Don't Go in the Woods Alone.
Yes.
The last horror movie I watched at the theater, it was Sinister, and I thought it was a really effective, scary movie and quite creepy with the 8mm scenes.
Boo hiss.
Oh, you gave it a 5 out of 10. You had to think it was somewhat decent.
Yeah, it was decent. I'll just say it's decent at best. That's it.
Have you really made an audio commentary for Savage Water? Gosh, if it is true, I hope you were well paid for that, because this film is, awful. I mean, it is not even fun to watch. Really boring, and the music that never stops through the whole movie. To be honest, I only watched this movie once, and it was a long time ago. Something like 20 years ago. Nevertheless, I do want to see it again. And yes, we have made a commentary for Savage Water.
Yes, and I must, I think, I could be wrong, but I think that DVD release is on February 12th.
Oh, is it
Amazon has it listed as March 12th. They could
March
be wrong.
12th, so it got moved up. It wasn't February.
Well, that's just what Amazon are saying. But
okay. Well, Vinegar Syndrome, who put out the DVD, said February 12th, so I guess it could be between those two dates.
And so,
but yes, we did do a commentary, and we can't wait for you to hear it.
And were we paid well?
It was fun.
Yes, we got free T-shirts and free DVDs, which haven't arrived yet.
No.
I can't wait to
In
see
other
it.
words, no.
Well, we weren't expecting to.
No, we weren't.
It was a fun thing to do.
It was a fun thing to do.
And we did it all in one day, didn't we? Because with that and Invitation to Murder, so it's a double.
Death by Invitation.
Death by Invitation. Sorry, I kept on calling it Invitation, so I didn't even know what it was. But yes, so it's two Hysteria continues sort of commentaries for one, really, isn't it? So yes.
Your review of Bloody Homecoming makes me want to see it, especially with characters who are supposed to die but they don't, and other characters who bite the dust but they are supposed to survive. Scream is the only post-80s slasher movie you reviewed, and I must say I have nothing against it, although like you, I am more into 80s slasher movies. For me, it was the golden era for the genre, from 78 to 83 to be accurate. And not like you, I am nostalgic from this time period. I have no shame to admit it.
Fair
in your
enough.
Shouldn't have shame, no.
No, I have no shame about anything that I like.
We know.
In your top 3 murder scenes, I was surprised none of you mentioned the Giallo movie. The murders are more elaborate in the Giallo genre, I think, although I quite agree with your picks. I think one of my favorite murders is from Opera, but I think the reason I didn't pick it, I don't remember what I picked for that, but I'd already talked about it before.
I did pick the arm scene from Tenebrae.
I thought I picked the doors from Opera because it's one of my favorite murders of all time.
Well, see, this is a debate we've been having, or a discussion we've been having. We've done so many top 3s, we don't really remember what we've done. So if you have any good top 3 ideas, please send them in. That you can remember that we have not done, because they've all kind of blended together.
Actually, I did look. We haven't done taglines, so that is one we could do.
Okay, cool.
I thought we had done it. We might have done. We've done tagline something, but we haven't done top 3 taglines. So maybe we could.
Let's see. He goes on to say, speaking about top 3, I propose you maybe already done it though. The top 3 technically well-made slasher movies. I would pick these. Number 1, Black Christmas, the original one from Bob Clark. Can you imagine it was the same filmmaker who directed Porky's? I like Porky's. Number 2, Halloween from Carpenter, of course. And number 3, Intruder. I'm supposing he means the supermarket slasher film. What do the 4 of you think of my picks?
I like all three of them.
They're very good films.
I love all three of them.
I do too.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
also
think they're all
happen
very
to
well
think
made.
that Intruder has some amazing camera angles.
Yes, and some really good gore effects.
Yes.
And I think Intruder, I know a lot of people on the Body Count Continues don't like it for some reason, but I think it's a lot of, it's kind of harmless fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's kind of breezy. That's why I like it so much.
Really?
It has that, is it a bone saw, whatever you call it? Death?
Bandsaw.
Bandsaw, like in Absurd, but taken to a new level.
More
Intruder.
extreme levels.
Yes.
Looks more realistic, I'd say. I kind of like the camera angle where he uses the phone, the one where you turn the dial and it just keeps going.
And isn't there a point of view of a bucket with a mop in it as well, or something?
Yeah, and from a grocery cart.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of takes the Sam Raimi stuff to a different level, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like Sam Raimi on steroids.
Okay, let's see. Like I wrote, I much prefer the slasher movies from the 80s or late 70s. However, I also watch current slasher movies, or less current, like the ones from the 2000s, like Outpost. And that's a slasher movie I strongly recommend you to watch. You won't be disappointed, believe me. I have it on DVD. It was a lucky blind buy.
Outpost?
I haven't heard of it. So
I saw that in the cinema. It was out about 4 or 5 years ago. It's actually quite good. It's set in
Is it also known
bunker.
as something else?
Let me have a look. It's a British movie, I think, and it's supernatural. I don't know if I would call it a slasher. It was out in 2008.
Is that with Jamie Bell?
No, that was something different.
One.
Yeah. Have you not seen Outpost either, Justin?
I think I have.
It's kind of a zombie Nazi movie.
Oh, well, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Dead Snow.
Aren't you thinking of Dead Snow?
No. There's that as well. But Outpost.
There's one.
It doesn't have an alternate title for the States, according to IMDb.
Oh, I wonder if he's talking about the movie you're talking about, or if this is a different slasher movie that I've never heard of.
Oh. Well, this one, the blurb is: in war-torn Eastern Europe, a world-weary group of mercenaries discover a long-hidden secret in an abandoned World War II bunker. And there is an Outpost 2 out at the moment called Black Sun or something.
Okay. Oh, there's a second one?
Yeah, Outpost Black Sun from 2012, and that's why, because there must be a third one on the way then as well.
Yeah, because he says the third chapter is in pre-production.
Rise of the Spetsnaz is due.
And you say it's not a slasher film, Eric?
I don't recall it being a slasher movie, no. I consider it more of a kind of a zombie movie, but I'd have to review it. I'd have to rewatch it, but it was good. I did enjoy it.
Okay, so he goes on to say, I did not know it was possible to vote for your podcast through iTunes. Could you please explain to me how to do this, please? I hope you will find the money to keep the podcast alive. And he concludes by saying, Justin, Nathan, Joseph, and Eric, I wish you a very good day and keep up the good work. Signed, Terry, a Slasher Giallo fan.
Thank you, Terry.
Joseph is handsome.
No, he never says that.
Oh.
And apologies.
I'm very sorry.
I already did apologise to Terry to say that sorry that I neglected to read out that that bit of feedback last time. So apologies again, Terry. But just to answer your question about iTunes, essentially, if you go to iTunes and you see put in Hysteria Continues on there, it will come up. You can vote for the podcast just by rating it. I think there should be a 5-star rating on there, and just click obviously put 5 stars. And also you can leave a review as well. And obviously the more reviews and more ratings that we get on iTunes, the more likely, this is my understanding anyway, is that it will go up the charts in iTunes, which means more people will see it. And obviously the more people listen to it, the better. And the more chance we have of that multi-millionaire sending us all $100,000 each.
And give us our own private island and private recording studio.
Yes. Or to meet up for a week in
collections.
Yes. Well, if you want to pay for us to meet up in Las Vegas to do
I was going to say some Hollywood superstar, I think it was somebody like Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp, gave his wife or girlfriend a beach for Christmas.
Really?
Because apparently he owns an island or something.
Was it somewhere really shitty like Western Supermare?
I think it was nearer the equator and possibly a bit more tropical.
Right. Okay.
And then with all that money, I can finally realize my lifelong dream of visiting the world's largest ball of twine.
Your lifelong dream was to eat the world's biggest hoagie, and you did it at the county fair last year, remember?
Oh,
This is all Simpsons references, Justin.
Indeed, I did. Yes. I still like your lifelong dream was to be a contestant on the Gong Show, and I did it in 1947 or 1977. I got more gongs than the Chinese dancing robot.
Oh, see what you started, Terry.
Yes.
Pot on fire.
Well, have we got anything else?
I just want to read one thing from our Facebook page.
Oh, yes.
It's from Sean Kelly, who shares his name with a very famous Irish cyclist from the 80s. There you go. He says, this is very quick, the New York Ripper features the dialogue, "I dreamt you killed me because of those terrible things I said about Susie." And he says, "I feel you guys should take advantage of this in a clip or something, considering the never-ending Susie-Toya rivalry you guys have going on." So I'm going to try and dig out that clip for the next podcast.
Oh, yes. That'll be good. That'll be good. And Patrick from Scream Queens has said it's still threatening to break out the Toya and Yoko Ono duet.
What a combination.
What a combination.
Yeah.
Please don't. Please don't. But, yeah, well, thank you. Oh, God.
You loving it?
No.
No?
Is somebody having a fit on a synthesizer?
There we go. Okay.
Aren't we all? Right. Right. Well, thank you, Erik, for that little blast of something.
Full frontal lobotomy.
I think we're going to wrap that puppy up, aren't we? Is there anything else left to say?
I guess I should tell what our next pick is going to be.
Oh, yes. Yes, what is going to be the next pick?
Well, I struggled with a few choices, but I think I'm finally going to cover Nail Gun Massacre.
Hooray!
And we'll be doing the second part of the 80s quiz.
We'll be doing the next quiz. Not the second part of anything.
It is the second part. It has to be, doesn't it? Because it was 80
now,
to
Erik,
84.
if you actually win this second part, are you still going to bitch and complain?
No, if I win it, I'll be happy, but I'm not going to win it because late 80s isn't my cup of tea. So I'm not going to win it. And it's unfair that this quiz was in two parts.
Well, if I would have went for the whole thing, it would have taken up about 10 hours.
Yeah, well, the quiz, it's two separate quizzes. It's an early 80s quiz and a late 80s quiz. It's not a quiz split into two parts.
Stop whining.
No, I'm not going to stop whining.
You better.
I'm not going to.
Just do what I tell you.
I'm going to play Toya all through the next podcast if you don't agree to my terms and conditions.
Really? Is this kind of like some kind of terrorist thing?
Yeah.
Is this like Al Qaeda type affair?
Yeah.
With Toya? What torture? It's like waterboarding. Come on then.
Yeah, well, it's just a warning to you all.
Oh gosh. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, join us again next time. We're going to play out. What with, Erik?
Oh, some more music from Absurd, isn't it?
It is, yes. Well, we shall play that out. So say goodbye, Erik.
I enjoy having great tits.
Yes. And we can hear you playing with them now. But thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. So take care and keep safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Tune in next week for a brand new quiz.
Sure. I have to wear a condom.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Right. It's not that exciting a show, but you never know. Right. Okay.
Hey, I was looking up IMDb and it says that Anal Paprika stars Jay Ager as well.
No wonder he was kind of glossing over that one.
I know.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
I'm not. It's true.
Erik.
Is that why he was swallowing some paprika today?
Sorry? What you say, Justin?
What were you saying?
Nothing.
Okay.
The police were here, Daddy.